like we're back in the studio. Los Angeles, 1997.
That's a good analogy.
Brett Gurewitz behind the controls.
That's correct.
I don't need to tell the truth, but I never lie. I don't need to bow to you. You're just passing by. I never wanted to be the one you bitch and moan and come home to. But as long as you look good, I'll come back to you. Get inside my troubled mind with all of your threats. Sometimes I think I was blind. Not before we met. I never wanted to be the one that you depend on for your life. When you cry, it smells like soup. Sound like Shonen Knife. Never feel though I said all night. I gotta ride. Each time I said all night. No, I just might. You make me stay all night. It's just that side of you tonight that makes me stay all night. I'm gonna stay all night. You're an evil little girl. I'm a twisted man, tearing through your perfect world. Make you understand. I never wanted to be the one you bitch and moan and come home to. But as long as you look good, I'll come back to you and do the things you do. Stay all night. I gotta ride. Each time I stay all night. No, I just might. You make me stay all night. It's just that side of you tonight that makes me stay all night. I'm gonna stay all. I would never treat you bad. You deserve the best from me. If you want to keep your place, you better get down on yours.
Yeah, Todd wrote this one.
Yeah. You think?
This is not mine.
Stand all night, I gotta ride. Each time I stand all night. No, I just might. You make me stand all night. It's just that side of you tonight that makes me stand all night. I'm gonna stand all night.
R.I.P. Todd.
Text the round robin your questions, comments, wagers. Give us a reason. Sleeper fantasy play, your best alternative line, whatever you have. Text the round robin 757 354 5517.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose cross nights and bright stars through the perilous night for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, take us past our spangled banner yet wave, for the land of the brave and the home of the brave.
This is the Deep End Broadcasting Network.
You are tuned in to the Round Robin with Stephen Murray on Deep End Broadcasting.
Still singing Bible now before I pray is on the bed. Way overhead, I see the crowd and flashing blue red lights. I'd rather see the college outside.
The charged up tones of the Pie Tasters kick us off here on the Round Robin this Sunday morning. Beautiful as it is, August the 24th, 2025. We are live from our Chicks Beach studios just after 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am Stephen Murray. This is the Round Robin, your guide to everything NFL wagering. And if you're new to the show, we've done this last couple of weeks. We'll kind of give you a little bit of a refresher here. If you're new to the program, tuning in for your very first time, here's what you can expect from us. First of all, this is a professional program. We mean nothing but business here. We want to turn our own dollars into big payouts. And if you tag along, that's fine. We want you to think for yourself. Know that there are good ways to make a lot of money doing what we're doing here. And contrary to popular opinion or unpopular opinion, however you may describe it, we are not doing things perhaps that most people would want us to be doing. In fact, we are scolded for our parlays and our thoughts to try to turn $10, $20, $25 into $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, whatever the case may be, even more in other circumstances that we've had on our program before. So we are here to make money. That is the bottom line. And I said we are professional, and I do mean that because what do we have? About 65, 68 years. Now, I need to get the number right so I stay consistent on this. So if we figure this is 2025, we'll count this season in the mix here. Let's see. We've been wagering since 1991. So that's 34 years. We've been part of the book, sports book, for until it became legal in Virginia about 3 or 4 years ago. Maybe 3 years in the 90s. We did not do it as well. So 34 minus 7 would be 27, right? There's some good math for you. So 27 to 34, all right, 61 years combined experience. So I won't get carried away too much in the future. Over 60 years combined experience on both sides of the sports book. So know what I'm talking about. Not going to be some schlep on here like you see on TikTok or Instagram or even on the Facebook Reels, claiming to win every day, etc. We do take our lumps, but we did finish a nice, great, nice and great, to be honest. It was a profitable NFL season last year. 10, 3, and 5 overall was the outcome. 10 winning weeks, 3 losses, and 5 pushes, which that matters, not losing any money that week and just kind of breaking even to keep the boat going. That really adds up. So, 7 plus 7 on the profitable weeks there, 10, 3, and 5 overall in the NFL. We had a great NHL season, and I can't say that we're red hot in baseball, but we've had some nice winning nights in baseball this August. So we are off to a good start here as we try to wrap up the NFL preseason, which we're going to do with this program in the next 2 weeks. And then we are off into the regular season. So what we'll do today is we'll go fantasy heavy with Dave Delgrande. Dave was with Field Level Media. He covers the Golden State Warriors, but he is MrFantasy.com. He's been writing on fantasy football since the 80s. All right, so he as long time tenured fantasy guru here on this program. He wins his leagues regularly. Let's see, I won my league last year. The Ants Man, who was on our program, back-to-back Guillotine League winners for him. Now, the Guillotine is no longer called Guillotine Leagues. It's called something else. But we'll go for the three-peat with him. And then Nephew Dave won his league 2 years ago as well. So we are fantasy rich on this program, and especially while we're trying to get these final NFL rosters pinned down, which is Shedeur Sanders going to make an NFL roster? Is he going to make the Cleveland Browns roster? He did not look very good yesterday in his efforts with the Browns in their preseason game against the Rams. Maybe enough so where they just kind of cut their ties with them and move ahead without him. Don't doubt that happens at some point, either today or the next couple of days, as these guys trim down their rosters to 54 overall. So as we finalize the rosters, we're going to look at fantasy heavy stuff today, and we'll start to do some picks as well. We'll go heavy on our picks next week with preseason and future stuff. And then we're off and running week one, in which we will be on at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time all morning long, dissecting every angle possible, coming up with every possible winning formula we think we can. Some nice long shot stuff that'll pay well. Also, that you won't need much to happen in order for it to pay out. I think for example, a new focus this year might just be let's pin down these kick returners. Don't you think we're going to get some kickoff returns for touchdowns? So kick returners who are out there as anytime touchdown scorers, a lot of times we'll pay big odds. We'll see if we can't group a couple of those guys together. We're going to have a week or two where we have multiple kickoff returns for touchdowns. I think we're going to see that stat go up, to be honest. It could be anything. Receiver yards, quarterback passing yards, quarterback rush yards, running back receive yards. We'll get into it all through the course of this program and beyond through the season coming up. And again, we'll look to turn profitable once again. And that's the moral of the story. Why take your $10 to the 7-Eleven to try to win 50, to maybe win 500 once in a while in a blue moon? Maybe you get your money back, where we can take that $10, find a 4-game parlay, even round robin it together for $2 legs, and get you a nice $2,000 payout off that $10. Or even a couple $100 if you hit 3 of the 4. All right, so lots to be done over the course of the next few months, and it goes by fast. It really does. Think about how fast this preseason just went by. I feel like we just played the Hall of Fame game, and here we are wrapping up with no more games left of the preseason. We are done. Everything wraps up last night in the NFL. So it is break time. We'll give college the yield next week. Doesn't mean we won't be on. We're going to be on Futures Heavy next week and get that all out of the way. And we'll do the fantasy today. So the bulk of the fantasy today with Dave Del Grande. We'll bring him in here in a minute. And then we'll bring on Nephew Dave a little bit later on. We'll see if we can scrounge up the Ants Man again. And we'll go ahead and bring back the art of making tickets. And we'll go ahead and put some tickets together for the season. And more of that next week as well. In fact, we got to even pick a game next week with the Thursday night game, a week from Thursday with the Eagles and the Cowboys. All right, so let's go ahead and anything else I want to touch on before we get to Dave Del Grande? Survivor. We'll go through a little bit of Survivor strategy as well. I'll get into that with Dave. I got a obscure Survivor pick week one. I think it's obscure. We'll see what he thinks, and we'll discuss various Survivor strategies as well. Okay, so what I went ahead and did is a mock draft, and all of you guys should be doing mock drafts, waiting for your initial draft, which, you shouldn't be having your draft yet. If you already did, shame on you a little bit. You should be really actually today and beyond your fair game to have it. You're better off if you can even wait through the practices this week. And get your draft then. We like to do it Labor Day, Monday night when there's a college game on, so everyone can kind of sit back after the long weekend and unwind and get your fantasy team together. But I went ahead and did a mock draft, and we're going to get Mr. Del Grande to grade me on it for the most part. We'll talk about the players drafted ahead of me, players drafted still available behind me, whether I made a good choice or not. And this will help you as a good fantasy primer for your draft coming up. All right. Our conversation with Del Grande always takes a while. Always about an hour to 2 hours. I think today we're about an hour and 30 minutes. This program is not designed for short stints. It is designed for you if you're traveling on the road to set it to play, soak it all in, and then put all this knowledge to use later. If you're working around the house, having your coffee, driving your kids to swim practice, going to the Home Depot, this is your exclusive live content that you will have for early Sunday mornings. Maybe not so exclusive at 9:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, but this program was founded on the basis that there really isn't much live programming at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time when we get to week one. And if you're like me and you always have the itch kind of going to get things fired up on a Sunday morning early, kind of beat everybody to the punch before the lines move, see how the lines are starting to move, then this program is definitely made for you. If you're a patient and want to take in a bulk of knowledge with nothing else better to do on a Sunday morning. So let's get fantasy heavy with Dave Del Grande, but I've got one or two things we need to discuss before that. We have to start with Brian Robinson Jr. You're out there in the Bay Area. What kind of message does that send to the fantasy owners who are looking at McCaffrey, even more so maybe looking at Robinson? You've said it in the past that Shanahan's a one running back kind of guy. And I think the immediate flag that kind of comes up, if there is a flag whatsoever, probably just want the depth, I'm thinking. But it's still the lingering injury where we don't really 100% know the status of McCaffrey, maybe. Maybe you can dive a little bit deeper into that and clarify some things on the San Francisco end. But what does this Robinson trade say to you?
Well, it says to me that the price was so low that you couldn't resist it.
Right, yeah.
I don't think the 49ers need him. I don't think the 49ers really have big plans on using him. But like you said, let's be honest. You've got a running back who's been injured more often than not the last 3 or 4 years. When he's on his game, obviously he's great. But when he gets injured, it tends to be out for a long time. They've made do with some second-rate backups who have come in there and done very well, and now are out there competing for their own jobs. They have Garendo this year, who appeared to be that next man in line to be the backup, but he's been banged up a little bit, and I just think that the 49ers see this as the ultimate insurance policy. Like you said, Shanahan, even though when he's plugged in these backup backs, Jordan Mason and Garendo when he was in there, Mostert when he was here, Breida when he was here, they just carried right on. I mean, and they had a lot of running success And so I think that bringing in Robinson, who's far more talented, I think, than any of the guys that I mentioned, just allows them to breathe a little easier. That in case, I don't think it's a sign that McCaffrey's injured at all. I just think it's a sign that, hey, look, we're going to run McCaffrey until he falls. And if that happens to be sometime during the season, well, you know what? We've never been more comfortable than this backup guy we can put in there. And if it never happens during the season, then you'll never see this backup guy. So I think that I wouldn't. I mean, as far as his fantasy value, I think it goes completely out the window. He now becomes what Garendo has been in these drafts, which is a second to last or last round pick as a guy that you pick up and you hope that McCaffrey gets injured because he's on somebody else's team. And then, what to me is more intriguing is what Washington going to do.
I was going to get to that in a second on my end. It's crazy. From the Washington perspective, we had no idea he was even on the chopping block, to be honest.
Well, it just seemed to me from the Washington end, from 3,000 miles away, this is a message, to anybody else who's in the final year of their contract and wants to renegotiate a contract. They have one of these going on right now with their wide receiver. And it's like, you know what? We're not going to be in this situation anymore. And we're going to be proactive. And if someone comes to us in the final year of their deal and says, you know what, I'm not going to play unless I get a longer term deal, then okay, here's our policy, you're out of here. And I think that this is the message to all Washington players moving forward. That look, you've got a contract, play out your contract, then we'll worry about your next contract coming up. In terms of the running backs, to me, it's very intriguing from a fantasy standpoint because Washington's a very high-scoring team. They're going to score points whether Robinson's in there or Robinson's not in there. Now, a lot of those are going to come through the passing game, obviously. The quarterback steals some rushing touchdowns. So if the running back situation is split at all, then it ruins it for everybody. What Washington needs to do, hopefully, is decide whether it's going to be Rodriguez or it's going to be the guy with the hyphenated fancy last name, Krosky Merritt, or however you say his name. If they can pick one of those guys to be what Robinson was, and I don't doubt that they have a skill level, particularly in this kind of offense, to be successful, then you're going to get a nice fantasy surprise. But unfortunately, we probably won't know who that guy is until after we've drafted. I mean, this is the kind of guy where we're not going to have any idea going into week one who's going to be their running back and how much. And then all of a sudden in week one, wow, they ran Rodriguez 25 times. Who would have known? And then bang, he becomes the number one pick on the waiver wire after week one. So I just wish we'd know that ahead of time, but I find it hard to. I mean, I read different stories this morning and became convinced that it was going to be Rodriguez, that it was going to be Krosky Merritt. Is that his name?
Yeah, and that's the intel that we're going to get, is that he is going to be the one to shoulder the burden.
Yeah, like I said, that's kind of what I thought based on the preseason, just on this last game. But Rodriguez did get the start of that game. He did run well. And like I said, the couple of stories that I read about him is, oh man, he's increased his speed. He has more experience. He, more dependable. I mean, I just don't know. I see on the fantasy draft list that certainly, Krosky Merritt is getting all the play. He's moving way up the draft list. In fact, I did a mock draft earlier today, and he went very early, and then way at the end of the draft, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna draft Rodriguez, or was he already taken? And I looked, and he was so far down their draft list. You know, I had to search for his name, and like nobody in the world gives him the time of day, and so I made him like my last round pick. I mean, why not, right? You know?
Yeah.
And so, but anyway, it's you know, like I said, you know, we've talked about this before. You know, one of the top 5 rules of fantasy football: don't draft until all the preseason games are over, and you can see, you know, all the cuts have been made. You can at least see a realistic depth chart for these teams, because this won't be the last, you know, the last move that's made. There'll be some other, you know, well, of course, we're waiting for holdouts to come back. We don't know about certain injury situations. What's the rush to draft 3 weeks before the regular season starts? You know, schedule your draft on the last weekend, or even better than that, on the Tuesday or Wednesday leading into the Thursday game. And you'll have it's just unfair that somebody, you know, used a 5th round pick or 4th round pick on Brian Robinson and thought, oh, I got a nice number 2 back. And it's just a complete waste for no other reason that your league was in a rush to draft.
Right. Yeah, good point. And we've uttered all that before on the show, and we'll continue to do so even through this weekend. And I mean, we have all the time in the world next weekend, the week after that, on an evening before the season starts. You want these guys as healthy as possible. Okay, I guess the other big Bay Area football news of the weekend is that Stanford starts their quest for their ACC championship this weekend, correct?
Well, I mean, they're playing Hawaii. Has Hawaii joined the ACC? I mean, when I wasn't looking, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, what better? You know, they're closer to the Atlantic Ocean than Stanford is. Probably, you know, if you go west, you know, over that big block of land that's called China. Yeah, no, it's you know, I'm no college football expert, but man, I'll tell you what, having seen a million promos already for the start of the college season, there's some very intriguing matchups coming right out of the chute.
Oh yeah, yep.
I mean, yeah, it's great. I mean, how in the world are the number 1 and number 2, or number 1, number 3, depending upon where you're looking, teams in the country playing each other in the first game? That's ridiculous. I mean, it's great, but it's ridiculous at the same time.
Right. Okay. Fantasy heavy. And I went ahead. Let me ask you this first. Do you know what the DraftKings best ball is?
I've heard of it, but no, I'm not totally familiar.
Okay. So this is basically the platform that I use for my mock draft. And the good thing about this is that you can kind of do it and forget about it, because there's no waiver wires, there's no starters, there's no bench. Basically, you'll draft a team, you'll draft a bench, and through the players who score the most for that week, whether you're on the bench or a starter, it doesn't matter. It's by position. Whoever the highest point total is for that position is deemed your starter. So you get awarded the player with the highest amount of points. If you have someone who sucks, no big deal. You just don't use. They're just automatically not put into the formula. And you got to win your 12-man league, and then you get. If you win that, you win something, and then you battle the other 10% of the entries for a prize pool. So for a $5 or $10 entry, where you can kind of just forget about it and not really deal with it, you could actually come away with some money at the end of the season if you mock draft well, right? So kind of fun in that regard. And it doesn't really take away the principles of how you would draft either. So that being said, I've done two of them. And the one I will get you to grade me on first is the first one that I did last Sunday. And I felt like I had a little bit more hearted effort into this one. The second one I did during the week, I kind of got distracted by baseball for a couple of rounds, and they ended up, probably drafting me a couple players I wouldn't necessarily have had in the first place. But I do like this team, and we'll get you to grade me right off the bat. So I drafted 6 overall. Well, let me ask you this. Does that sound like kind of like a fun platform for a mock draft to you?
I mean, not for me, but I can understand it. I'm in favor of. I like the concept of winning your league and then advancing to like a TOC or something. This is one of my problems with the ESPN leagues.
Right.
Is for someone who's I mean they separate their leagues into beginners, experts, and pros. I'm not exactly sure what the difference is between an expert and a pro, but which is to me kind of silly. I mean, come on.
It all sounds silly, to be honest.
Right, but the point is that you don't know who you're competing against, and what I would like to see them do is to give you a track record. In other words, if I'm in a league this year, an experts league, and I finish in first place, I should go onto a list where next year, where ESPN says, all right, look, we had 2,000 expert leagues last year, or more than that. We had 20,000 expert leagues last year, and here were the 20,000 people who won. Now, these people are eligible for our expert plus division this year. So when you go to find a league next year, you at least know that, all right, I'm competing, still don't know who you're competing against, but it's someone that won an experts league last year.
Right.
So, you don't fear getting into one of these leagues where, you see this all the time in an auto draft. I mean, in mock drafts, is you sign up for, like this morning, I signed up for an experts draft this morning, 10-teamer, and 4 of them had auto draft on, and it's like, no, I don't want to do a mock draft against an auto draft.
Right.
I already know who what the auto draft list is. I want to go in against real competitors. And so anyway, my long-winded way of saying, I like the fact that somehow, some way, you weed out the weaker competition,
right,
and then you get to compete, whether it's for a bigger prize or just for more pride or whatever, against better competition. So that aspect of it I like. And what the negative is, it takes away. Basically, to me, one of the fun elements of fantasy football is trading, and I think it's
right.
It's a very underutilized thing in leagues where you don't know who you're competing against, because you're never really sure, are these people out to get me? Do they all know each other? And they're all making trades among themselves, and they won't trade with me, even though I'm offering. It's just a bad thing. But I think that trades are fun. It impacts, to me, your draft. Someone would say to me, "Oh my God, you've got 5 great wide receivers. Why did you take all these wide receivers? And you've only got 1 quarterback and 1 tight end. What are you ever going to do with your 4th and 5th wide receiver?" Well, it sets me up to make a trade. If my quarterback gets hurt or my top running back gets hurt or whatever, and I need to make a trade, well, I've got a couple of guys on my bench that I would trade and get some value for, or maybe even trade one of my starting receivers and get some value for. And that, correct me if I'm wrong, but in this DraftKings thing, There is no trading.
No
There is
trading,
no
yeah.
picking-
Yeah, nothing.
There's no picking up during the season. There's no lineups. Lineups can be a headache. I understand that. But part of the fun for me of fantasy is not only being drafting the best team, but also acquiring the best team during the season, whether it be via a trade or more likely via the waiver wire. So it's I don't know. So it's that's why I would not. I don't know. I tend not to like these lottery. Hey, you can win $10 million. All you have to do is win your league, and then you go into this other thing, and you got to beat all these other people, and you just, oh man, I'm up against a million other people, and some of them have 10,000 different teams going. Every combination.
Right.
So I mean, anyway, I not my a fun thing, a fun alternative, but not my cup of tea.
Yeah, not an alternative for me for regular fantasy bragging rights, but for a mock draft tool, I think it's fair game and a easy setup. And who knows? The DraftKings, I will give them a little bit of credit on their payouts. They take their 10% cut, but then they pay you. They pay the prize pool or whatever the case may be. In fact, they do have like survivor pools as well. They'll take a chop out of that. But it says right there the winner gets, and they'll max it at 10,000 entries or whatever. But the winner gets a cool 900,000 or whatever the case may be. So I'll give them credit for that. Let's see here. So I picked 6 overall.
Out of how many?
Out of 12.
Out of 12. Okay.
And my first pick. Well, it was either going to be, and I want to tell you who went ahead of me and behind me, so you can dissect that a little bit. So let's see here.
But before you even say that, I will jump in and say, picking 6th is a good spot to pick because I think there's a drop off from 6 to 7.
Right.
So you're assured of getting one of the top 6 players. And then your only problem is going to be, well, what if 2 of the 6 are still available to me? Which one do I take? But you don't have to worry. The person who drafts 7th, they've got a completely different worry, which is, oh my goodness, what if the top 6 guys are gone? Now what? It's a bad spot to draft. So 6th, I like it. So go ahead.
Okay. So with the 6th pick, I should just for the first round break down how the whole first round went. So let me log on because I got screenshots of the other stuff. But just for the sake of the first round, because that's always interesting too. Who I know Chase was overall number 1. I do remember that. So let me get the number 2 pick here.
Well, while you look, I'll chime in on the number 1 pick. If you have the number 1 pick in the draft, you have to take Chase. I mean, he's as much as you would, maybe you're thinking, this is my year. I'm going to go with 2 running backs in the first round this year. And that, I think, is a good strategy in general. But throw that out the window. If you get the number 1 pick, take Chase and worry about your 2 running backs later on.
All right, so my number 1 pick. Sorry, here we go. This is an enthusiastic radio listening to this, let me tell you. Okay, let's see here. Overall, Chase 1, Robinson 2, McCaffrey went 3.
Oh my goodness! See, I'm
Right.
thrown for a loop. Okay.
Barkley went 4th.
Lamb
went 5th.
Oh my goodness!
So I had the
Pick
choice.
lottery.
Yeah, so I had
There's no choice.
Gibbs or Jefferson. I took Gibbs. Gibbs is my pick.
Yes, to me, I think it's the choice between the top running back between Robinson, Barkley, and Gibbs, not McCaffrey. Robinson, Barkley, and Gibbs. I think you can go in any direction there and be satisfied. I think Barkley is the safest pick, even though people, he's older, he might get hurt or whatever. He shows no indication that he's going to wear down or he's going to get hurt or what have you. And coming off a monster season, they've got basically the whole offense back, just like it was last year. If there's anybody in the whole league where you would say, make a prediction on this guy this year, how similar will he have this year to last year? To me, Barkley's the guy where you would say he's going to have exactly the same year this year that he had last year. And of course, that was super good. Robinson is more of a wild card. I think he's being drafted high because he catches a lot of passes, but they got a young quarterback. They've got an offense that it might be average this year. I don't know. They don't really have a good second receiver. They don't have a tight end. They're just not a good offensive team. He's one of these great players on a below average offensive team. That's what scares me about him. And then there's Gibbs. I mean, if you watch Gibbs at the end of last season, now granted, Montgomery was injured quite a bit during this time, but if you watch Gibbs, he was like, oh my goodness, this guy's unstoppable. He runs 10 yards every time he carries the ball. He catches passes for 20 yards every time he touches it. He's even scoring some touchdowns later on in the year when Montgomery wasn't there. The last regular season game, the playoff game, if you had him on your fantasy team last year, which I did, it's like, I don't care who else is next year. I'm taking him with my first pick. I gotta have him. And I would go into this year's draft. If I got the first pick, oh my goodness, it would be a really, really hard decision not to take Gibbs. Cooler heads would have to prevail, and I would end up taking Chase, as I discussed a minute ago. But without question, if I had the second pick, automatic, Gibbs. If I had the third pick, he's available, Gibbs. If I had the fourth pick, he's available, Gibbs. That's about as far as he's going to go in most drafts. You lucked into him as the sixth pick. I hope you said thank you after you took him.
Yeah, I certainly did. I did not think he'd get that low. I thought I was for sure going to get Jefferson or Lamb.
So see, those are the other two guys that I would put in the top six. With Chase, Jefferson, and Lamb are the three receivers. Robinson, Barkley, and Gibbs are the three running backs. And those six have to be your top six.
And McCaffrey definitely overdrafted by you. Okay.
Yeah, if you want to take McCaffrey seventh, that's fine. I think McCaffrey, because of, again, people are worried about his injury status. I understand that. If you're worried about his injury status, you need a 1B star. In other words, if he's your 1A star, then if he were to get hurt, you need another star player on your team. Well, obviously, the lower you draft in round one, the higher you draft in round two. You can get yourself a co-star early in the second round that you can't get late in the second round. So if you draft McCaffrey with the third pick in your league, your second pick, your second round, you're picking 20th. If McCaffrey goes down, the best player on your team is going to be Kyren Williams. And so you're doomed. If you're picking 9th or 10th and you take McCaffrey then, or now you come back in the second round, man, there's a lot of really good players still available there. So as much as he's, tempting, I can't imagine taking him certainly any higher than 7th, hopefully more like 8th, 9th, or 10th.
Okay. After Jefferson, who went right behind me, went Neighbors, Nico Collins, Derrick Henry, St. Brown, and Brian Thomas Jr. If there's any question there, it's Nico to me, right?
Repeat?
Yeah, Nico Collins, or Neighbors first, then Nico Collins, then Derrick Henry, then St. Brown, then Brian Thomas Jr. rounds out.
Yeah,
the
I mean,
top
again, those are a notch below
Right.
the top 6 picks, which is fine. You expect because you're drafting at the end of round 1. But, that group you mentioned there, the lower you pick in round 1, the more likely you're going to get 2 of those guys. And so that's a nice start. I mean, if you start off your draft and you draft Collins and Neighbors, or Henry and Nakua, or Taylor and London, or Taylor and Thomas. I mean, you've got yourself kind of what I was talking about before. You've got yourself 2 frontline guys, and as a fantasy opponent, and you look at who you're playing this week, and you look at his team, it's like, boy, he's got Henry as his top back. Oh man, he's good. Wonder who his receivers are. They've got to be bad. Oh, crying out loud, he's got London. London's one of the top receivers. How did he get both those guys? And so, so the bottom of the first round. I mean, like you said, you would you rather have Gibbs or Robinson or Chase or these guys? Yes, you would. But I get 2 of these guys, and so that's the positive.
Okay, second round pick for me. So I pick, 7th overall in this round after the snake draft, or maybe it's 5th. Let's see.
Yeah, you're right.
7th. Okay.
16 goes with. 6 goes with 17.
Okay. All right. I'll make sure I'm reading this the right way. So the players who go ahead of me are, and I'm looking at running back. If I can get a good one, but the players who go ahead of me are Achane, Drake London, Chase Brown, Gentry, Nakua, Brock Bowers, and after that, I got a choice of 3 running backs to me. I can either take Jonathan Taylor, I can take Jacobs, or I can take Bucky Irving. I went ahead and trended with the sure fire offensive juggernaut. I think we still have questions about Jordan Love at the end of the day. We know Jacobs gets a ton of carries and a ton of reps. We know that Irving can be counterfeited by his counterpart at running back, although it seemed like Irving was trending to be the more dominant back to me. And that's probably the reason why I took him in this spot, is that he just seemed to be the one escalating to being the more dominant running back. And I get it. He does have some carries taken away from him, but he's the one who ends up scoring at running back at the end of the day. So Bucky Irving was my second pick. I can make an argument for taking Jacobs there for sure. Taylor, the running back or the quarterback scenario of just being able to push the ball down the field in general scares me. But maybe that's all the more reason to take Taylor. But Bucky Irving was my pick in the second round.
Yeah, now there's a guy where I could be totally wrong. I think he's vastly overrated. And not because I know anything more about what's going on with Tampa Bay than anybody else. It's just that.
And I am a Tampa homer. Go ahead.
White played a lot last year. White catches a ton of passes, and he just seems to be a guy where, all right, so if this is going to be the year that Irving surpasses him as the number one back, that wouldn't surprise me. But it's like, how can you not make use of maybe the best pass catching back in the entire league? I mean, this guy catches 5, 6, 7, 8 passes every game.
Right.
And not that Irving can't catch passes, but it's like, well, if you got White on your team, why isn't he in there on third down or second and long or whatever when he's this great pass catcher? I just can't imagine a scenario where Irving is going to get, more than 60% of the touches on that team. and with 60% of the touches on what should be a high scoring team, he'll do fine. But you compare him with Jacobs, and Jacobs is a guy. He's going to get 90% of the touches. Among there are no other running backs in Green Bay. He catches the ball. He scores touchdowns. He runs the ball effectively and coming off probably his best season. I'd much rather have the high volume guy, especially on a high scoring team like Green Bay, than to have a guy where, I mean, again, we're after week one, when we look at the box score and it shows, wow, Irving carried the ball 21 times and he caught 5 passes. Man, was I wrong about him? I mean, that's a very plausible scenario. I also see another scenario where he runs 11 times and he catches 5 passes, but White ran 8 times and caught 8 passes.
Right.
You know, and it's like you look at the number, and then who got the touchdown? Well, Mayfield is a high volume touchdown thrower. He'll even run one in. So I'd rather I'd take Jacobs. I'll tell you, I would take Taylor ahead of both of them. And he's risky in the fact that I don't know whether the change of quarterback is a good thing or a bad thing.
Right.
I mean, I used to think that Richardson, because Richardson was such a running threat, it was going to make Taylor a better runner, and because you couldn't, you had to always have someone who had an eye on Richardson. It's like the team was playing with one fewer defender than any other team because one guy's got to keep Richardson from running, and so that was going to help make Taylor better. But at the same time, Richardson is a runner. I mean, he's going to get a lot of running yards. He's going to score running touchdowns, and that's going to come right out of Taylor's total. Without Richardson in there, I mean, yes, Daniel Jones does run the ball more than your average quarterback, but not in more in a scrambling mode and not necessarily on a fake a handoff and run the ball around the end 10 to 12 times like Richardson did. I just think this is going to mean more. They're going to be more mainstream in their offense, and if they go more mainstream, that means handing the ball to your one and only running back 15, 18, 20, 22 times a game in a very weak division. And, so where, I've said this before, if you're going to draft a running back high, it's nice that he plays on a team that's going to be competitive or wins games, because these are the guys that are going to get the most carries in the second half when, if the game is close or if they're ahead, as opposed to a team that's down by 2 touchdowns and now they don't run the ball anymore. And so you get the best running back in the league, and he's not getting the ball, not even on the field, because, they got their third down back in there. So, it's like I said, I could be totally wrong. I'm very curious to see after week one what the split is between Irving and White, and in terms of the number of touches. I'll be the first to admit that I was dead wrong when I see, because you know what, there are many, 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 many more people who agree with you than who agree with me on this. So I'm ready. I'm ready to take my licking there.
McLaurin last year, Bucky Irving this year. Let's see here. With my third pick, and I feel a lot fantasy smarter already just through 2 rounds of this. So that's what this program's all about, folks. Real deep dive, informative type of information. Okay, so with my third pick, and I love this one. I really love this one because I'm going to wide receiver now, obviously. And ahead of me is drafted T. Higgins, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. So they're off the board. Drake London's gone. We talked about that. Let's see. Who else a wide receiver's gone? A.J. Brown's gone at this point. Lad McConkey's gone at this point. And then what we talked about last year actually happened, or what we talked about last week with the two quarterbacks kind of getting with their average draft position right about at this point with Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Those are the two guys who actually go right ahead of me. And obviously we want to draft a quarterback later and not put all our eggs into the Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson basket, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So Tyreek Hill is my pick in the third round, and I love that at this point because that is a first-round talent. If he can just kind of get over the hiccups of last season, they can kind of pick up where they left off 2 seasons ago before they kind of fell apart, before he got hurt, before the playoffs, and kind of had to play through some nagging injuries. And then obviously last season just wasn't as great either. But if they rebound well, Tyreek Hill for my third pick, I'm going to love.
I agree with this, and I think you can write off last season for basically all the Dolphins. I mean, they're a team that, went into the season with the mistake of not having an NFL-ready backup quarterback. Now, not that you expected, Tua to get an injury that was going to keep him out for 10 weeks or whatever. But, any quarterback in the league is one hit away from missing half the season or the rest of the season. Why these teams don't put more of a priority on second quarterbacks is beyond me. But I do think that's changing a little bit. I think there is more emphasis now on getting a nice number 2 quarterback. But Miami didn't have one last year. They were embarrassingly bad when they had to go to a second, third, or fourth string quarterback last year. And that had to be demoralizing. All of a sudden, Tyreek Hill had that wrist injury last year. Those things tend to hurt a lot more when your team is bad. When your team is good, oh man, it hurts me every time I catch a ball. But you know what? I'll take it 10 times a game. And I just think that they're first off, they've gone out and gotten a backup quarterback this year. But secondly, I just think that if Tua can stay healthy, that there's no reason why there shouldn't be as much enthusiasm about this offense as there was at this time last year. And we were talking at this time last year about, wow, this could really be, the top offense in the entire league. And Achane certainly has done nothing but, show people that he is definitely a top flight number 1 running back. Waddle is someone who's been kind of underutilized as a number 2 threat, but is very good. And so they've got a lot of weapons on offense. Tyreek Hill was, I think he in fact was my first round pick last year in the middle of the first round. And he's there in the middle of the third round in a 12-team draft. I think it's a very high volume pick.
All right.
In general, I will say this about the draft this year. I think that there are 20, to 24 very solid first and second round picks. If you don't have 2 good players, one great and one very good player in your first 2 rounds, then you've done something wrong. Okay, I think most teams are going, no matter where you pick, most teams are going to have a solid duo. Now, if you do a lot of mock drafts like I do, what you see is the same guys are always available. In round 3, round 4, round 5. Rounds 4 and 5, I think, are very attractive from a wide receiver standpoint. I see wide receivers down there, rounds 4 and 5, that I'd love to have. I can't believe that every draft I participate in, these guys are still available. And so I'm very confident. And there's even some good, really nice kind of sleeper running backs that are available down there. And so I'm very confident in round 4 and 5 that I'm going to come away with 2 good players. To me, the key to the entire draft is round 3. The team that gets the best player in round 3 to complement their big 2 is going to be, get a head start over every team. And last year, I targeted Achane in round 3. I just prayed he would be available in round 3. And he was in most every draft that I did. And in fact, in the real draft that I did, I got him in round 3. I'm looking for that guy in round 3 this year. And I don't know who it is. I'm not convinced that I know who that guy is, but the fact is that he just might slip and fall onto your lap because there are, like I said, 20, 22, A-level players, and they're not all going to go in the first 2 rounds. And the more people start drafting quarterbacks or tight ends in round 3, it's just going to allow, some of these guys, Kyron Williams is slipping well into round 3 in a lot of these drafts. And I didn't see the headline. I didn't see the headline where he got injured in camp this year, or they got rid of their coach, the offensive-minded coach, or they added weapon. I know. I mean, why wouldn't he be, as good as he's been in the past? Doesn't make any sense to me why he'd be slipping. All right, I understand you don't want to consider him one of your top 8 or 9 running backs. Fine, but he's got to be right there, a fringe running back 1, or definitely a strong running back 2. And you're letting him slide to me in round 3. Man, but that's what I'm saying. That if in round 3, if I have a guy who I think, I really, really, really hope this guy slips to me in round 3, which like I said, I haven't found him yet. And so at this point, I kind of go in similar to what you have done here, is to say, you know what, one of these top players is going to slip to me in round 3, and I just got to be ready to take him no matter what position he plays. So I think, round 3 is a very, very important pick. Probably the most important pick you'll make all day.
Interesting. Okay. Love it. This is fun. Okay, so I need another wide receiver now. We're in the 4th round. Going ahead of me are Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams. Let's see. Mike Evans is gone. In fact, he went right after my pick. And I didn't think I wanted to stack Evans with Irving at the end of the day, which is the correct maneuver, I believe. Let's see. Who else is gone? DJ Moore is gone at this point. Devontae Smith is gone at this point. Is that right? Now, DJ Moore is available. George Pickens is available. But I went ahead and went with Xavier Worthy. I get it. Did his bulk of the load go up when Rice went out? Yes. But I think that's when we just found out how dynamic this player could be. He catches the ball out of the backfield, which takes away from some of the running back shares as well. So not only is he getting his, has he earned his reps, but he's also going to take a few from the running backs as well. We're going to look at another extended period of time where Rice is going to be out again. And the benefactor to me is going to be just Worthy overall. In fact, I played just for the funs and giggles of it. I played a 4 preseason game under parlay ticket for $10. Nothing crazy, just to have some fun with it. Thinking that everyone would put their starters on the bench for the most part, but not the Chiefs. The Chiefs are running up and down the field in the first and the second quarter in their game against the Bears. Just when I thought, okay, nice touchdown drive, Patrick Mahomes. We'll see you in the regular season. No, he's out in drive number 2. Okay, and put a field goal up. Okay, Pat, nice. That was great. You can take a seat now. No. We need to come in and get another touchdown. But Worthy was definitely getting the ball last night as well. So Worthy is my next receiver that I drafted, and I think the upside is still plentiful with him. I think we're just kind of scratching the surface on what he can do.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because it's a very similar situation to what they had the previous year when Rice exploded onto the scene at the end of the season and really made a name for himself. Come back to start last year, and he was arguably the top receiver in the league the first week and maybe even the second week until he got hurt. And then it opened the door for Worthy by the end of the year to be this unstoppable guy. And now you come into this year and it's like, well, wow, Worthy had a great year last year, but Rice had a great year the year before. And, can they coexist? And if so, who is the number one target? And I got to believe that guy's Rice. And I don't know, but I also think that the two of them can coexist because they're not throwing the ball to Kelsey as much. They don't, they're for all, as good as they are, they don't run the ball that effectively. I think they could be a sneaky high scoring team this year. You think of Kansas City 2-3 years ago as a very high scoring team, of Mahomes throwing all these touchdown passes. Well, that's come back to earth. But a part of that is, you had Rice out all of last year. You had, Worthy was a nobody 2 years ago. You've never seen these two guys on the field together. Plus, oh, by the way, Kelsey is still, somewhat productive. And they still don't have a real good running game. So they're going to throw the ball a lot. I think both of them can be successful. I would take Rice ahead of Worthy. But, as you noted, the big question mark is, well, when's this suspension going to kick in and for how long? It's risky taking Rice. Rice might be, one of the top 5 scorers and wide receivers in the entire league for 9 weeks, help you get off to a nice start. And then just as you start thinking about the fantasy playoffs and what a great team you have, bang, he's out for the rest of the season, and there goes your title hope. So that's the risky part. I think Worthy is a safer play there. So, like I said, I would take Rice, but I got no problem with Worthy. But I'll say this about what I was mentioning a minute ago. The two guys, and you mentioned this guy's name. First you said he was gone, then you said he wasn't. So I'm not sure which is which. But the two guys who I see slipping to rounds 4 and 5, who I'd take on a heartbeat with those two picks, are DJ Moore and Rice. If you can get DJ Moore as your, in the 4th round, especially in a 12-team draft, and then Rice in the 5th round, as not, a guy who's not even, you've already drafted, presumably, you already got Tyreek Hill on your team, right? So you already have a number 1 receiver. You got DJ Moore as a number 2. You got Rice as a number 3. So that's the ideal situation because then if he goes on suspension, halfway through the season, well, you're not losing one of your top 2 receivers, so you can sustain that. But these are two guys who, I've kind of identified as, man, my draft will be successful if I can get Moore and I can get Rice in rounds 4 and 5, because this allows me to draft running backs with the first 2 picks, which is exactly what you did, right? And so you got 2 running backs off the bat, and now you're wondering, what are my wide receivers going to be like? Crying out loud, we had a really good one in the 3rd round, and we got Moore and Rice in rounds 4 and 5. Oh, man, I love my depth at wide receiver. I love my 2 running back. 5 picks into the draft. Oh man, I'm going to start. Where's the hardware? Where do I pick up the trophy? And so yeah. So this is my envision of a good draft. Oh man, I just hope DJ Moore's there for me in round 4. He has been. His rank, his ADP is somewhere around 50.
Yeah. So he's the 11th pick in the 4th round, so still available. I could have drafted him if I.
Yeah, and
smart enough.
you're in a 12-team draft.
Yes.
So the 11th pick of the 4th round is pick 47, and so that's about where he's been going. And pick 47 in a 10-team draft, that's 7 picks into the 5th round. So I think he's going to be available in round 4, and like I said, Rice's ADP is right in that same range. But someone we haven't talked about who may end up being my 3rd round pick, and I'm not sure exactly how I want his situation to play out between now and then. But where did McLaurin go in your draft?
He's actually my next pick in the next round.
Oh, for crying out loud! Oh my goodness! In that case, scratch everything I just said. I think he's going to be a really good 3rd round pick. I think that he, as soon as his contract situation is resolved, or he returns to camp, for not this, this upcoming week, but the week after, leading into the first game, then he's going to be a 2nd or 3rd round pick. To get him now on the cheap, hoping that he comes back and plays, that's a risk you take, but that's kind of how fantasy championships are won and lost. Is that you took a chance on a guy that others were unwilling to take a chance on, and he comes through for you. Well, then that's a big bonus for you. And if it doesn't come through for you, well, then you have to trust your ability to have good depth, so that if McLaurin doesn't play the entire season and you've used a 3rd round pick on him, well, it's not the end of the world, because I got Moore in the 4th round, and I got Rice in the 5th round, and I got some guys, I got Ayuk, in the 8th round. And then heck, you wisely, just in case, you drafted Deebo Samuel, who's available very late. But imagine how much Deebo's stock goes up if and when the day comes where they say, McLaurin, he ain't playing this year. Oh, okay. Well, glad I drafted Deebo in round 8, because he just became a 3rd round pick. And so there are things you can do to protect yourself in those kinds of situations. But, there's a reason why, every draft that I've ever been in fact, ESPN grades their mock drafts, right? And I've probably been in 10 of them. I've never gotten a grade higher than a C, right? And I either get a C or a D every time. And it's because, you know what? I'm not going to be a sheep. I'm not going to pick the same guys everybody else is picking. And I remember distinctly last year in my league where the teams that were picked 7th, 9th, and 10th out of 10 were the teams that finished 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So it dare to be a little different, but, take precautions with that. So anyway, that's my, I stole your thunder here with McLaurin. But I think he's a nice, at this point, he's a nice sleeper pick. That could very well change
once he gets
by the time, we draft, next week or whenever it's going to be.
Right. And he is the alpha dog when it comes to throwing it to the wide receivers. I mean, it is, all right, let's throw it to McLaurin in the end zone. Let's throw it to McLaurin in the end zone. Let's throw it to McLaurin in the end zone.
Yeah.
with the
Oh,
Washington guys.
right. Like I said, if he signs tomorrow, or decides, what, I've learned from Brian Robinson. I scratch my my contract request. I'm going to play this year under my old contract. Then he immediately starts getting drafted. Where he should be drafted, which is heck, maybe even in the second round, but certainly somewhere in round 3.
Okay.
So, go ahead.
Go ahead and give me a grade for those first 5 picks.
Okay, so we got
Gibbs, Irving,
Hill,
Worthy, McLaurin.
Worthy, and McLaurin. I'd say I'm going to give you a solid B there. Gibbs is an A+. McLaurin is an A+. I'm not as high as you on Irving and Worthy, and Hill's a very solid, at least A-. So I'm going to reconsider and bump you up to a B+ for those 5 picks.
It's like I get all A's and that 1 D in biology. Okay.
I hated biology.
It was the worst.
Oh.
I hated it so much I switched to geology, which I liked a lot.
Oh my goodness! I wish I had that option.
Oh yeah. It was fun studying the earth and rivers and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, in our high school, nope. Every sophomore had to take biology. Oh, can still smell the dissecting the frog.
Formaldehyde. Yeah, so gross.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay, so with my running back depth, of course, I take Brian Robinson Jr. before the trade. So we'll pass that. Who cares at this point? But with my 7th round pick, I couldn't resist that Mark Andrews is available still. I have to snag him at tight end because he is still, to me at this point, probably the last super alpha tight end available. Although your guy Warren's available after this, and Kelsey was available after this Mark Andrews pick. But Mark Andrews with my 7th round pick.
Yeah, I like that. A lot of it comes down to likely. Is he's been banged up in camp.
So I'll give you a spoiler. I got likely in the 15th round.
Well, I don't know if I would have done that. But yeah, if one or the other plays full time, then you've got a really good tight end. If they both play, which was the case last year, Andrews did come on strong toward the end of the year and catch a bunch of TDs. But at the beginning of the year, man, he didn't catch anything. And likely was catching a lot of balls. So I don't know. I really like Warren, and I think that the move. We talked a minute ago about the impact of Richardson's benching on Taylor. I think it's a very positive move for Warren. I think that Daniel Jones is far more likely to throw the ball to the tight end and to be more of a traditional quarterback than Richardson ever was. And I think it's a great, a great thing for Warren. And we'll see. It's to expect anybody to come in and be like Brock Bowers. Obviously, is a huge leap of faith. But I do think that tight ends are trending in that direction in college football and in the NFL. I think every year there's a couple of more really good ones who come out in the draft, and the second one this year being Loveland, and I think he'd be getting a lot more play if he weren't joining a team that already had a ton of offensive weapons. You throw him on, say, the Giants, and I think, people will be talking about him like, wow, he could really explode on the scene this year, fantasy-wise. But I think that's the kind of team that Warren ended up on. he ended up on a team that doesn't have great wideouts, and now has a very conservative, move the change kind of quarterback. And so he's someone I'm certainly counting on getting. There have been a couple of mocks where I waited one round too long before taking him. And that's the unfortunate thing about waiting a long time to take your quarterback or to take your tight end. And that is, if there's one guy you're really counting on and he's not there because you waited too long, it kind of ruins your whole strategy. So, I'm confident Warren, it will be there around 7, and maybe even round 8. And that's kind of the point where, you know what? No, I'm not waiting any longer. As one of the advantages of waiting, if my quarterback is Goff that I'm waiting for, he ain't going before round 9, 10-team draft. So I can wait a couple of rounds longer before I take him, but I gotta take Warren. After I take, say, 3, my first 7 picks are all running backs and wide receivers, 5 starters, and then 1 backup at each position. All right, I'm all set at those positions. I got 7 really good players. Now let's get Warren, let's get Goff, let's get Aubrey, and not have to worry about, do I need another receiver, or do I need another running back? If someone slips to me, I'll take them. But I don't need any more. I got 4 wide receivers. I got 3 running backs. I'm covered. And so that's the advantage of waiting on tight end and waiting on quarterback is, if you got 4 wide receivers and you got 3 running backs, well, you're covered, for that first big injury you have, because you've got a nice backup. And secondly, you've always got a lot of options at your flex position because you've got good running backs, you've got good receivers. So you're all set. And then you're still happy with what Warren's going to give you and what Goff's going to give you and what Aubrey's going to give you. And then you walk away. I would anyway. That's kind of my dream team.
All right. Let's see here. This next player that I drafted is interesting to me. And you could almost call this a homer pick, but it's not because I've kind of discounted this player from the get-go, except for the fact that he just kind of keeps doing good things. And I find myself doubting his talent a little bit. And he's been better than what I kind of thought. So I'm gonna jump on the bandwagon here. And these are wide receivers I did not take that I could have taken in this spot. The ones that I did not take, still available in the late 90s, early 100s, as far as draft position goes. I did not take Keon Coleman. I did not take a Josh Downs. I did not take a Jake Reed. I did not take a Cooper Kupp, which is interesting. He's at 105 overall in this draft. Pittman Jr., I did not take. Rashid Shaheed still down there. As good as he kind of started off last year, here he is at 110 overall in this draft. But with my pick, I went ahead and took a flyer on Demario Douglas with New England. Player who seems to just always be involved. It seems like Drake May definitely likes him from his rookie season. He's fast, so when he gets the ball, he can get yards after the catch. He finds his way into the end zone some. So Demario Douglas, an interesting player to me. Could I have done a little bit better? Probably. I mean, I'm taking Demario Douglas over a Cooper Kupp and a Jake Reed for crying out loud. But an interesting player from my perspective, at least. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's, not a guy who I would take, but nothing, nothing against him necessarily. I mean, I look at New England as, you know, a team that obviously has a quarterback now, and maybe that changes things. But they also have a running back now, and they just brought in a coach, very conservative-minded coach. We saw what this guy's all about at Tennessee. They're not going to throw the ball a lot. They're going to throw it conservatively, probably throw to the tight end a lot, and run the ball and every down if they could possibly do that. I think it increases the value of their running backs, but I think it decreases the value of their wideouts. Now, like I said, the potential is there. I'll switch over to the Giants when I make this comparison. You would think the Giants are kind of a similar team, is that the Giants are not going to be a passing team. Except, wait a minute, they just drafted this quarterback. Oh my God, this guy's really, really good. And so how could you not be a passing team? I don't care how conservative the coach is. I don't care what kind of running back you got. How can you not become a passing team? And watching the Giants, grain of salt, be careful what you see in the preseason. Doesn't really mean anything. But when the Giants had Dart out there in this last preseason game, and they, ran hurry up, and he's swinging the ball left and right. Wow! I know if I were the Giants coach, there'd be no doubt who my starting quarterback would be in week one, and there'd be no doubt how we'd be playing. We've got a dynamic receiver, and we're going to throw him the ball a lot. We've got a second receiver who, is a move the chains kind of guy. Let's come out winging because this quarterback changes everything. The question in New England is their quarterback that kind of guy? He's already played a year, so we kind of got an idea of what he's all about. I don't think he's changed anybody's mind about what kind of team the new coach is going to put together there. But the potential is still there for somebody to have a good year catching the ball because at least they got a quarterback now who can throw the ball down the field. So, like I said, I just based on, what I expect out of this coach and the fact that they went out and they drafted a running back real early and the guy looks really good, I got to believe that he's going to be the first option for as long as he's standing.
All right. Let's see. And to fill out my bench, of course, I got kicked out. Let's see here. To fill out my bench, all right, so there's Tootin. I have a running back flyer on him, so that's good to have if we need him. I have Burden, Luther from the Bears. I got Dobbs on here. I got Brandon. I did get Brandon Ayuk, so he's on here as well. Two quarterbacks ended up picking were Rodgers and Drake May. So that's my team in a nutshell.
Well, I'll say this. You touched on a guy who I think is a very, very good pick, especially way, way down where you got him, and that's Ayuk.
Right.
He's being treated as if he might miss the season or, he may be coming back for the playoffs. No. He's already out there on a side field running his patterns and what they're talking about. In fact, the coach even talked about how they'd like to get him back in week 5 or week 6. And if and when he comes back, there is no doubt that he's the number one receiver on this team that, has a history of throwing the ball pretty effectively. And so, you add a guy in the middle of your season, he'd be like the perfect tag team to Rice, the Kansas City's Rice. Well, if I'm going to lose Rice for the second half of the season, and I've got IU, I'm plugging in a similar talent, not as explosive, but a good guy to plug right in there, because this guy is going to be a top 20 wide receiver in games that he plays. And so to get him, I would strongly recommend drafting a guy like that, in the 9th or 10th round or whatever, as opposed to drafting a number 2 receiver on a team that's not going to throw the ball that much. A lot of the names that you mentioned that were still available, there's a reason they're still available.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, if you had to, in an emergency, play this guy and get his 4 catches for 30 yards, if that's what you're happy with, knock yourself out drafting the guy. But no, that's what you're getting. You draft Ayuk, you're getting 0 from him for the first 6 weeks of the season or so. And so you better have other receivers. But week 7 on, you're talking about a guy who's going to catch 7 or 8 balls for 80, 90 yards and a touchdown. Well, that starts on my fantasy team. As a flex or as a second receiver or as a safety net for someone who's gotten hurt. I'd much rather take a risk on a receiver like that than to take some run-of-the-mill guy. One other guy you mentioned that, I don't know, he doesn't fit necessarily in the same category, but I think he has the potential to have a nice season is Kupp. And because he goes into a situation where, you have to remember that this guy's had a nice career, and people are thinking, well, he's gotten old, he's lost a step, and what have you. Well, that's fine. He's not running deep patterns. He doesn't need to have 4.4 speed. So he's lost a step. He still knows how to get open on slant patterns, on little patterns in between the zone, move the chain kind of things. And that complements what Seattle needs. Seattle got a lot of that from Lockett for many years. Well, they need a new Lockett. They've got Smith Najigba as an outside threat, a really good one who's going to stretch the defense, but they don't really have a tight end that's, that good. So Kupp is going to be the move the chains guy, which was always his thing. I'm not going to be surprised on opening week that, you look and you see, wow, he caught 10 balls, for 55 yards, no touchdown. Okay. I'll take the 15 and a half fantasy points. And because, a guy I drafted in the 10th or 11th round, again, I see an upside with him there that I just don't see with some of these other guys you mentioned. So, take down low in the draft, roll the dice. Tootin, I love the Tootin pick. He may never, crying out loud, he may get cut, a week from now. But at the same time, they might announce that he's the starting running back. We don't have any idea. He was drafted high, or relatively high, for a reason. This is a team that hasn't run the ball well in recent years, despite having a couple of name guys. They've brought in a new coach, so everybody's getting a fresh look. This is the guy that drafted this running back. It could very well be that this guy's decided, you know what? I've seen enough tape on Etienne and Bigsby to know that, no, they're not my guys. Tootin, he's my guy. He's our starting running back. And I've mentioned before that I think Jacksonville, with this new coach, who was the mastermind behind the Tampa's increase in their offense, despite the fact that, we talked about their running backs. They're certainly nothing special, and yet they got great production out of their backs there. They got production out of Mayfield, off the scrap heap. I think Jacksonville could be a surprise offensive team. And if it just so happens that they decide at some point that Tootin is their guy and you took a flyer on him in round 11 or round 12, well, that's stealing money. So again, high, high ceiling, low base.
He could be the Chase Brown of last season.
Yeah, he could, or he could be, the next great Canadian Football League running back. I mean, he could be out of. We don't know.
He could be the next Commanders running back. Right.
You're going to drop somebody after week. Very good point there, by the way. You're going to drop somebody after week one anyway, because there's going to be someone who emerges that you're going to want to pick up off the waiver wire. So why not take a chance on someone like Tootin, and then you see, crying out loud, they're still running Etienne and Big Speed.
Right.
I'm going to I'll drop Tootin and I'll pick up, whoever it is, that you're picking up. All right, good. Well, nothing ventured, nothing gained. At the same time, you look and, oh, geez, look what happened. Etienne sprained his ankle the first game. They put Tootin in there, and he became, now all of a sudden he's number one on the waiver wire, for people to pick up. But, not available in our league because I picked him in the 12th round. So it's nice to roll the dice on guys like that.
Okay, any final thoughts on fantasy? This will be next week we'll go more pick oriented. So this will be not necessarily the bow tie on our fantasy discussion, as we'll get through it all year long. But for the sake of pre-draft analysis and mock drafts and stuff like that, that'll kind of put a cap on things. So any final thoughts on fantasy? Anything you'd like to tell the listeners?
Well, like I said, to me, what's important in drafting your team is to know what's going to be available to you down the line. And this is a reason why I'm waiting on my tight end and I'm waiting on my quarterback, because I know with 90% confidence that I can get Warren and I can get Goff very late. And I'm happy with that. So I'm not going to worry about those positions early on. And that will allow me in my first 7 picks to take 7 different wide receivers and running backs. Ideally, 4 receivers and 3 running backs. And then I'll be all set there. Then I can go about drafting my Warren and Goff and Aubrey and these other guys. And so I can only do that because I've identified somebody who's going to be available or likely going to be available in round 8 and round 9, and that, Warren and Goff. If you're looking at your draft and you don't like those particular guys, and you absolutely can't wait till round 8 and 9 to take your quarterback and running back, well, then that's fine. Then you devise a different strategy. But the point is, know what's going to be available later on to affect what you take early on. I mentioned that in rounds 4 and 5, we've mentioned a bunch of these guys, whether it's McLaurin, DJ Brown, Rice, these kinds of guys who in your draft, they were all available in rounds 4 or later. Well, if you're confident, man, I like DJ Moore in round 4. Man, I like McLaurin in round 5. If you're confident that you can get those 2 guys in rounds 4 and 5, well, that's all the more reason to draft running backs with your first 2 picks, because now why take wide receivers with your first 2 picks and then come to round 4 and round 5? Oh, and there's Moore and there's McLaurin. But I already got wide receivers. I need running backs. Oh, man, I wish I had gotten running backs first. And it's not like you're settling for lesser players by saying, you know what, I'm going to go running back in my first 2 picks. Well, you know what? There's 5 or 6. We talked about Robinson, Gibbs, and Barkley. Those are sure thing first rounders, right? And then you've got McCaffrey, Henry, even Jacobs, Genty, some people would say. You've got these 3 or 4 other backs if you happen to be picking late in the first round. These are all legitimate, first round picks. And then come back in round 2, and then, you get Jacobs if he's there. You get Taylor if he's there. You get Chase Brown or Williams or Achane or Gentry. I mean, there's a lot of good running backs in the first 2 rounds. You can, you solidify your team with 2 running backs in the first 2 rounds, and you're confident you're going to get more McLaurin or Rice or Worthy, whoever you're looking at in rounds 4 and 5 to be your numbers 2 and 3 receivers. Now all you got to do is come up with a wide receiver in round 3, like Tyreek Hill if he's there, AJ Brown, these kinds of guys. And you've had a successful draft, but why? Because you planned ahead. You knew, as tempting as it was to take a quarterback, as tempting as it was to take one of these tight ends. Nope, I'm not doing it because I'm confident in these guys I can get later on. I've devised this strategy away from that where I'm going to focus on running backs and wide receivers. The draft's falling exactly like I was hoping it would, and I like my strategy. So have a strategy, but as a part of that, as I said, anticipate what's going to be available to you later on and use that to pick your guys early on. That's my my tip for the day.
Okay. Strategy, you just said it. And I'm going to kind of flip the page to Survivor Pool for a moment. And I've been kind of plotting out my strategy for Survivor Pool. And I get it. There's different ways to play it. Some people just like to play it plain and smooth. Give me the most likely team to win this week, and that's the one I'm going to take. Some people will, for instance, take a team like the Saints, and they'll just strictly play against them as far as they possibly can and hope to get away with it. And me, there's my strategy, which is try not to be part of the norm, because that's how you can actually win Survivor. And I did win Survivor last year, and I won it early. It didn't take very long to get down to the final 2. I think it was the Bengals losing to the Commanders on that Monday night game when everyone realized Washington's actually a good team. I happened to have Buffalo that night, and that was the key to success, Buffalo waxing Jacksonville at home, and everyone else was on the Bengals to beat Washington. And I think that was in week 4 or 5, if I'm not mistaken. So pretty early on, Survivor Pool was decided. I don't like to align myself with the norm. I don't necessarily want to take chances, although I understand that you have to. And in previous years, I've decided to stay away from taking teams on the road or taking divisional opponents. But in not winning those Survivor years, I've learned you actually have to do that a little bit, and you can benefit yourself if you can kind of maybe generally follow that rule a little bit, but being able to break that rule as well at an opportune time to better yourself. So that being said, I've been plotting out and looking at everyone's schedules, and really just for the first month or until the first 6 weeks, really the max. Once the buys start, I think it's kind of pointless to do it beyond that because any number of injuries could be involved, etc. It's always good to be looking at least 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time, but you don't do that for the whole season right off the bat. Maybe look at week 7, week 8, sometime around week 5, week 4, week 6 even, just to kind of get your ducks in a row here. So what I initially started to do is look at teams that have a difficult schedule where you just don't have the opportunity to use them that much. And that is looking at the whole season. I get it, but I'm going to still kind of put it into chunks. And I'm looking at a team like Cincinnati, and I'm going to go down their schedule right now. Here is Cincinnati's schedule. And we're talking in terms of survivor pool. So week 1 at Cleveland, then they have Jacksonville at home week 2, at Minnesota, at Denver, and then if I just want to stretch it to the first 6 weeks, Detroit at home and at Green Bay. After that, Pittsburgh at home, Jets at home, Bears at home, bye week, at Pittsburgh, New England at home, at Baltimore, and obviously the further you get, I mean, Survivor becomes least important because the pool might not even make it this far. At Buffalo, home against Baltimore week 15, at Miami week 16, Arizona week 17, Browns week 18. So the moral of my argument or my strategy at this point is, where are the Bengals usable? And they're not usable in many places. You've mentioned your Jaguars are going to be a tough team, potentially, and a high-scoring team in that. And we are worried about Bengals defense here, for sure. And the fact that they're going to be a higher-scoring team as well. They're at Minnesota. That's a tough spot. You'll never use them there. At Denver, you probably would never use them in that scenario. You're not going to use them against Detroit. You're not going to use them at Green Bay. So to me, in week 1, if you're kind of going by my strategy, which is maybe don't hop on the obvious ones, like the obvious ones to me will be Arizona over New Orleans. You'll probably get a lot of takers on Arizona. You're going to get a lot of takers on Denver over Tennessee. And you're probably going to get a decent amount on Philadelphia over Dallas. After that, it starts to become somewhat of a crapshoot. I'm going to make the argument that even with Flacco, and I know Flacco could get off at any moment in time, and I get it. It's a division rival. It's Cleveland. It's on the road. So I'm kind of stepping outside the norm right off the bat. But I don't see many people really taking the Bengals. And I get it. The idea is to survive and advance. I'm going to have a play on Arizona at some point in the survivor pool because I do like them. But to me, being able to use Cincinnati right off the bat, if they can get through Cleveland, you check that box with them. You don't have to worry about them again at any point of the season, which is treacherous just about the whole way. And honestly, if they can't beat Cleveland week 1, you probably don't deserve to win that survivor pick anyway, or survivor pool anyway. So I can live with the defeat. So to me, taking Cincinnati is an interesting strategy in week 1 on the road at Cleveland. You don't really have another good chance to really take them anytime soon. You can check that box. Let's go on to week 2. And I got a lot of good teams still in the bank. The Bengals are gone. And that's one sketchy team from the get-go that I no longer have to worry about. They should be able to beat the Browns to me. Your thoughts on that strategy right off the bat?
Well, I don't enter these things, but my strategy would be different than yours. I mean, I'm one of these. Let's focus on winning week 1 and worry about the rest as things transpire. The problem with that, in the NFL in particular, but this year especially, is the matchups are tough in week 1, and they do that intentionally. They'd like every team in the league to win week 1, and worst, or second scenario would be to at least be competitive. Last thing the NFL wants is any team getting blown out in week 1 with all the excitement of the new team, the new coach, the new approach, whatever it is. And there isn't that blowout in week 1. I mean, you touched on a couple that, Philly could blow out Dallas, but that's, that's risky. I mean, I think Dallas isn't as bad as people think. And man, I mean, if Arizona is one of your top picks,
Right,
and on the road,
right,
that's telling you that these picks are difficult. Week 1 in the NFL tends to be tricky. A lot of road teams tend to win, and these games are very close. I think Denver, to me, stands out as the biggest mismatch in Week 1. But again, you're talking about Denver, and this is not what I would say a top 10 NFL team. And if you're in a survivor pool, and you're not picking a top 10 team, well, you're taking a risk. So, that said, I come back to exactly what you were talking about. I think that, to me, the reason to take the Bengals in Week 1 is because there's been so much talk about the slow starts they've gotten off
Right.
to.
That plays
know
into it.
that in the preseason that they're playing guys more than they have in the past. They're doing what they think they have to do to get off to a faster start. Now, if they were playing Baltimore or Buffalo or Kansas City, well, that might not matter. But no, they're playing Cleveland. And Cleveland, of all the teams in the league, there's a lot of distractions there. Heck, they're going to go into this first game, and that there are going to be fans who are wondering why Sanders isn't the quarterback, or wondering why Gabriel isn't the quarterback. And the first bad pass that Flacco throws, there's going to be muttering, there's going to be booing. I mean, it just has a chance to be kind of a disaster for Cleveland in Week 1. They're not that good of a team anyway. And here's a Cincinnati team that's very, very hungry to win in Week 1, maybe more hungrier than any other team in the league, just based on all the talk about you guys dig this hole every year. Here we go again. No, we don't want to hear that. Let's go out and win this very winnable game. Let's approach it like it's our biggest game we're going to play all year. And who else is going to approach Week 1 with that kind of importance or
Bigger, yeah. Yep.
And they draw a bottom 5 or at least bottom 10 opponent. So to me, that's who I would pick in Week 1.
All right, I like it, and I think I'm going to be locked in with the Bengals for the most part, and I'll probably have another entry on the Eagles. That way, if Cincinnati blows it on Sunday, then maybe the Eagles get through or have it for me already done by the time we get to that point anyway. Okay. All right, Dave, we're going to go pick heavy next week. I got a lot of future stuff. We're going to do it all. We're going to, quarterbacks that lead the league in interceptions. We're going to look at 750-yard receivers, 6 touchdown scores, a wide receiver. We have a full gamut of fun stuff we can look at and try to parlay a few of these guys together for a big payout. We'll make some tickets, and we'll have some fun doing that. All right. Enjoy your weekend. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Now, Nephew Dave in the studio. Nephew, how's it going?
Good morning, sir.
How's your weekend going?
Oh, it's going well.
A day after a preseason thumping at the hands of the Baltimore Ravens, Dave.
Yeah. Steve, you take it for what it's worth there in the preseason. I tell you what, I didn't like it though.
Was Sam Howell the starter?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Was
Hartman, Sam Hartman.
Hey,
and
I don't think he's any good.
He is terrible, Steve. That guy does not belong.
Everyone
on
loves
NFL
him,
roster.
but he is not good.
I can't figure out why anybody he won't be on that team come roster cuts on Tuesday.
I don't think so either. And when I watched him specifically, it's like he's throwing into pressure, just kind of hoping someone catches the ball.
Yeah, pretty much. A lot of late throws. Bad things happen when you're late and not on target. So again, Steve, I don't see him being there all that much longer. Starters didn't play, but it does worry me a little bit about the depth behind the ones. So we'll see what happens there as injuries start to pile up, as they always do. But that does worry me a little bit about this team this year.
Okay. And your first game with the Giants in 2 weeks. we'll get to more of that, obviously, next week. Another quarterback who's been in the limelight really since the draft is Shedeur Sanders. And he goes out and lays a complete dud yesterday. I wouldn't be surprised, Dave, if he ends up on the cutting room floor by the time these rosters are trimmed down on Tuesday. He may be without a team himself and on somebody's practice squad.
Well, the word is there, Steve. If he doesn't make the Browns, he's going to go to the Canadian Football League. I think there's two teams that have a lot of interest, and one that said if he doesn't make it, that they'll sign him. I can't remember what the teams were.
Right, Canadian teams. Okay, I think I did hear some Canadian stuff. I thought that was more like a joke than,
and it could be, but I mean, it might be fitting though.
Yeah,
he
probably
could go there.
True. Yeah. But not the worst. That's actually for Canadian football, positive limelight, probably.
Oh, absolutely.
Compared to negative limelight in the NFL. All right, you did a fantasy draft.
I did. Yep.
Let's review what you did, and then we'll get into some art of the making of tickets. And we're going to peruse a bunch of categories here in the next hour and see what we come up with. But I like what you did at running back for sure. You got 2 alpha dogs and Bijan Robinson, and you ended up getting Derrick Henry as well. So you have no shortage of touchdowns in that backfield. But then you're going to take a flyer or two on guys who have a lot of potential as well. With Krosky Merritt. I mean, he might not even he's going to make the team, but who knows with how many running backs you guys have, what the master plan will be at the end of the day. You got to think he's going to get the bulk of the load. But you have Scatterbo as well, and you also got the Steeler. I'm sorry, you got Junkins as well, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
So high potential all the way around for your running back depth to be good, really good. I mean, Scalabo could end up being an alpha dog type of running back at the end of the day. We shall see. And then you got 2 real good guys there at the top with Henry and Robinson. So your thoughts there when drafting your running backs. Obviously, those are your top 2 picks, correct?
Oh, yeah. So it was Robinson 1. And I picked I've done a couple where I've picked late. So I wanted to prepare if I get a good spot. So I picked 4th in this draft. Bijan fell to that. And then my next pick, Henry, was still there. So that was my 1 and 2. But Steve, the thing that I think killed me last year and in years prior is my running back depth has been not where I like it to be. It's been the one thing that's hurt me throughout a couple years. So I wanted to go strong here in this one, see what I could pick up. Krosky Merritt, he could be slated to be the number 1 back right now in Washington. That back room is pretty jammed up, but they've liked what they've seen out of him in the preseason. He does run the ball pretty good, but he's got some good speed on him. So put him on the bench. Let's give him a week or two because I have that luxury now up at the top to see what he can be if he can be slotted into flex. Scatterbo, kind of the same thing. We'll see. Obviously, we know what he did in college. We'll see if that translates. But if it does, he's a pretty bruising runner. So I don't see how that could hurt. And then Judkins, he was a beast in college as well. So all these guys here, Steve, the 3 running backs that I have on the bench, again, I have that luxury of seeing what they can do in the first couple of weeks and really having that good depth. And that's what I was going for here.
And you're going to got some good risk down there at wide receiver with your bench depth as well, to the point where these guys could be better than your guys you drafted at the top.
They could be, yes.
With Golden and Ubuka is going to get a lot more opportunity now with Godwin being sidelined for a few weeks. And that's a guy who could come flying out of the gate, to be honest, with Baker Mayfield. He's going to be an interesting play to see where his numbers are right off the bat. And the top 2 guys you drafted were Higgins and Harrison Jr. Higgins obviously is going to get a ton of opportunity next to Jamar Chase like he always does. And then I guess the question with Harrison is, can he just take the next step
Right.
and find himself to be a little bit better, right?
And so, yeah, exactly, Steve. And that was kind of my thought process there is, this is a little bit of a gamble. A lot of those top guys got off the board, and that is the one thing about, running back 1-2 right off the jump is you're going to have to kind of take a chance somewhere with some of these guys because you didn't pick up maybe somebody who's a little bit more top tier. But if he can make that step, Steve, I think that'll be good. I'm really high on Egbuka. They say he's having a great camp. We see what he did at Ohio State. He's a beast of a wide receiver. So I think him and Baker is going to be a really good connection, and I think he's going to earn some points for me. It's taking a chance. He is a rookie, but I have a good feeling about that one, Steve. So if it doesn't work out with Harrison Jr., maybe Egbuka can step up and take that spot.
We'll take a look at his rookie numbers here when we get to it. You got a Dunze in there as well. Again, another player who could take another huge step with that Chicago offense, more than likely trending in a better direction. Your defense looks good with the Steelers. You got Dicker, the kicker, who I think is one of the top tier kickers as well. And tight end wise, you'll settle for Hawkinson at the end of the day. Where again, if he can just kind of almost in a Tyreek Hill kind of way,
Right.
just get a pass of last season and let's start fresh and have a good season. It looks like you have a good overall competitive team here, Dave. I would say for the most part.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, it's taken quite a bit of chances, but again, my number one focus.
And you got Burrow as quarterback.
And Bo, yep. Number one focus was the running backs, and that draft is in that league is this evening. So I think I'm going to have that same mindset going in.
All right. Let's get to some futures. Let's start to put some tickets together. So if I were you guys out there listening, well, one, you can just fire up your app and play along. But maybe if you're not handy with the phone at the moment, go ahead and grab your pen and piece of paper now. And I maybe jot down some of these that make sense as we go, and then parlay them together when you get some time to start messing around here. We can go any number of directions to start off with. And I've looked at the schedules for basically every team. So I think I'm pretty well groomed in terms of who has the harder schedules, who has the softer schedules. And there are, so the good thing is now we can parlay win totals.
Oh,
Where we could not do that before. So that's new. We can also parlay teams to make the playoffs. Let's kind of maybe start there and maybe tell me where I'm wrong here. And then we'll get to player stuff. So, art of making the ticket. Let me see if they'll actually, they're doing the old, they don't recognize my computer, Dave in Virginia. So I got to bet on the phone. So we'll try this one time here.
yeah, it's doing it to me as well, Steve. It can't see the
over here it is?
location, which is weird.
Maybe I'll do it on a different browser here. Let's see. Search the web. I know this is enthralling. Radio is trying to actually log on.
We going to miss the playoffs or make the playoffs?
Miss the playoffs.
Okay.
Let's go to miss the playoffs first, because I think that's the easier one.
All right.
And only because I want to, instead of looking at my phone on the screen, rather just be kind of looking at the camera and looking at the main computer screen and on my telephone as we go through these. That's the reason in the delayed. But my theory in taking teams to miss the playoffs, Dave, is this. And, of course, this browser thinks I'm a bot. So I guess we're not going to log on here. So let me get back onto the phone here. Nothing new with us. But my theory of taking the teams to miss the playoffs, is obviously you have a lot more of a pool to choose from to really strengthen your bet.
Right.
With more money. Okay, so NFL playoffs to miss the playoffs, and I'm going to take a couple of teams right off the bat, Dave.
All right.
And then maybe you can agree with me or you can put together your own, whatever you want to do here.
All right.
But I'm going to go through mine first. And I'm just going to start at the bottom of teams who are likely not to, just because I think this is going to boost things up. So Tennessee, to me, is not a playoff team, right?
No.
Minus 520, we can throw them in there. The Raiders, not a playoff team to me, minus 430, although I think they could be sneakily better. The Carolina Panthers are not a playoff team to me, minus 340. So already we're getting paid just even money, $10 to win $10 for Tennessee, the Raiders, and the Panthers not to make the playoffs, right?
Right.
If you wanted to do $1,000 season long bet, that's not the worst thing to do. I think for $1,000 is having to rely on the Panthers, Raiders, or the Titans to get into the playoffs, correct? I mean, are you with me on that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right, I'm not going to throw Miami on there. I'm going to throw the Colts on there. Because I think Miami's getting – there's one or two guys out there that I'm listening to where they insist Miami is not going to be good. I can't say that, Dave. In fact, I think their defense is better than what people think that they are. They still have Tyreek Hill. They could come out running and gunning again. And all this Miami is bad talk is going to go away really, really fast. I'm not prepared to jump on that media bandwagon, but there are a couple guys out there. You know who you are, who are dogging the Dolphins. And I don't think you can do that. I really, really do not think that you can do that. So your general thoughts on Miami, maybe real quick.
Yeah, I agree, Steve. I want to see it. I want to get about 3 weeks in before I really make that call. Now, I know that doesn't do much for us here in the futures markets that we're looking at. Now maybe they're not a Super Bowl contender, but they got firepower, Steve, and when you have that, you have a chance to stay in some games. So I think they could be on the cusp of a wild card team. I could see a path where they get in.
Okay, other teams I'm going to add to this list not to make the playoffs. I had the Titans, Raiders, and Panthers. I'm going to throw the Colts on there. I'm going to throw the Bears on there. Improved, but too hard of a division still at the end of the day. I think they just come up short. Seattle, I'm throwing them on that list not to make the playoffs. They are one team I feel pretty good about not being good at all, to be honest. I think once they get some injuries, that team's going to kind of fall apart.
The Bears?
The Seahawks.
Oh, yeah.
I think the Bears could actually win that division.
No, I think they'll be solid.
But I'm going to, for the sake of this bet, and just because it juices it up, Bears are minus 225 not to make the playoffs, and I'll throw them on this list. So I have Seattle, the Bears, the Colts, the Panthers, the Raiders, and the Titans. I'm going to throw the Falcons on there, which I know is kind of getting sketchy. They could win that division. I'm going to just count on Tampa being better. And Atlanta does have an interesting schedule where, they could just finish around 500 and not make the playoffs.
Right.
So all those alone, which is 7 teams. So all those alone kind of sounds kind of weird to say because it is 7 teams. Titans, Raiders, Panthers, Colts, Bears, Seahawks, Falcons, not to make the playoffs. $100 wins you $1,199. Now, I'm going to add on the Rams plus 118 because of their hard schedule. And I'm going to add on the Bengals plus 120 because of their lack of defense and their hard schedule. So, if I do that, now my $100 is paying off $7,646. So that's a big seat. That's a good, if you want to put your money down for the future, $100. Okay, let me just kind of try to fade these teams overall. Not making the playoffs is a good mark on how bad a team could be, or they could be good and still win your bet, right? At the end of the day, they could be a decent team and you still win. So a fun way to play it, in my eyes, 100 to win 7,600. Tell me what scares you the most on that list.
All right, run through it again for me, Steve.
The Bengals and the Rams, I'm assuming those two teams are since we're getting plus money,
right?
Those teams would be worrisome of not coming through for me. But after that, Falcons, Seahawks, Bears, Colts, Panthers, Raiders, Titans.
Yeah, I could see that, Steve. I actually have Cincinnati plus 115 to miss. And I like that, man. They have a really hard schedule. They're known for coming slow out of the gate. Now, that's something that they talked about changing. They've changed up the way they practiced and some different things like that. At the end of the day, Steve, I'm not so sure that defense got much better. And that was their weak point. They play shootouts, but at the end of the day, they're just giving up too many. So I like Cincinnati to miss with their tough schedule. And everything else, Steve, I could probably agree with. I may even throw the Chargers on that list at plus 110.
Interesting.
But I think you have it more or less to miss the playoffs. A very nice ticket there.
Give me three teams with plus money. You might take a chance on. We throw the Chargers in on there, Dave. But give me two others besides the Rams and the
Bengals.
Yes.
All right, let's see here. We're gonna go plus money teams. Let's go with Minnesota at plus 100 there. We got to see what that quarterback is going to be. This could be a really, really tough division to play in this year.
And you're getting a better number than me because I have them at minus 122.
Oh, okay. So let's go with the Vikings there. And how about the 49ers, Steve, if those injuries pile up again? Is that too far stretched to say that they get a lot of injuries going again and they miss the playoffs?
No, not at all. In fact, someone brought it up, and I think they're absolutely right. Is everyone's just kind of anointing the 49ers
right
to be a much better team again? Where are we sure that's going to be the case? I don't know. We need to do a quick double take on that one. Because last I checked, they were spiraling out of control to end their season last year. They cleaned house for the most part on their defense. I mean, are they going to have a defense? We have injury concerns on the offense already. Purdy's under a lot of pressure. Let's be honest with the new contract. I don't think there's another player in the league under as much pressure as Brock Purdy is to now fill his boots and his expectations with the amount of money that he's getting. So if all that goes sideways, fan base turns on him a little bit, then it's going to be messy out there in San Francisco.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
You get plus 850 just about. Dave's probably getting a little bit better number since has the Vikings maybe at more of an even money. But I see plus 850, 9-1 just about for the Chargers, Vikings, and 49ers all to miss the playoffs. Nephew Dave's trio of teams. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to not bet this quite yet myself. But for the sake of the art of making tickets, that's basically how that goes. Now let's look at teams to make the playoffs. And obviously this is a thinner pool of teams because we only have 14 slots. And, a lot of them with the favorites are already going to be kind of spoken for. Like, you almost figure, if you take the top four teams anyway, Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, and Eagles, now you only have 10 spots left. Actually, $10. In fact, you can make the playoffs and miss the playoffs. That's interesting.
That
to see
is
too.
interesting.
But the Eagles, Chiefs, Ravens, and the Bills is just that plus 145. Do you think all four of those are locks to make it back in, Dave?
The top four?
Yeah.
I would say so. I couldn't see a world in where the Bills and the Ravens don't make it. Eagles are looking, pretty much the same, really. So no reason for them to take a major step back. And then it's the Chiefs and Mahomes. That you know how that goes. They're going to get there. So I just couldn't see a world where these top four don't make it unless crazy injuries or something happens.
And then I think you can throw in Detroit and Tampa Bay as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So those six, I think we can almost set in stone. And then I would say the rest is a crapshoot after that. And those six pays now 6-1, which again, if you want to win 1,000, put down 1,000 to win 6,000 or something like that on a season-long bet.
Right.
Now you're taking all this you're taking all the chalk here. Now they all have a hard schedules because of the first place finishes. Basically, they've all had last year. You're talking about 6 first place teams here. You're counting on getting into the playoffs from last year. So Eagles, Chiefs, Ravens, Bills, Lions, Buccaneers. Dave, if I had 1,000, I would consider that though.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
To throw down on that. 5,000 wins you 30,000 if you want to invest a $5,000 for the season.
Right.
That's not the worst way to do it. But man, you're just an injury away at the quarterback too.
It's scary when you're playing with a bet that big.
Well, Jared Goff and Hendon Hooker, what's the difference there? Probably everything in the universe.
Right.
So that leaves us slim pickings for some other stuff. Now, who might we throw in, Dave, to spruce up this bet a little bit more? And obviously, we probably want to do that on the plus side of things.
Right.
Who are the plus numbers to make the playoffs you might take a look at?
All right, Steve, the plus numbers, and really, man, there's really only one that pops out at me that I would feel halfway, good about. And that would be the Pittsburgh Steelers at plus 115. The quarterback situation is probably not exactly what you would want it to be. But that defense, I think, is going to be really good, Steve. So, defense wins you championships. Now, I'm not saying they're going to the championship, but you get what I'm saying when I say that. So the defense maybe carries them into the playoffs. Maybe they don't win a game in the playoffs, but I could see a scenario where the defense carries them there.
All right. So Pittsburgh, if we add them in, I got them at plus 128, Dave.
Oh, even better.
And I got the Cardinals at plus 126. What do you have them at?
Plus 115 as well.
All right, so I'm going to add them on. So now our ticket has gone from 6-1, 1,000 to win 6,000. And we're going to add on just two more, the Steelers and the Cardinals. And now 1,000 wins you $40,000. You've gone up $32,000 in winnings by adding on the Steelers and the Cardinals.
Man, the Cardinals
to the 6 teams that you think will automatically get in. So basically, you're rooting for the Cardinals on a soft schedule and the Steelers to get it home for you. Do you want to pick a different NFC team?
Yeah, different NFC team. I could go with. That's going to be a little tough. NFC. Let's go with the Atlanta Falcons at plus 155 to sneak into a wild card spot. They may be good enough to do that.
And you're getting a much better number than me there. I have plus 132, and now 1,000 or 1,000 wins. 67,000 for me.
Nice
on this bet. So we're adding in Atlanta and Pittsburgh to this formula. This is interesting.
Let me see.
I think I at least want to put like 100 on this at some point.
Let's see. You got the Lions, the Bucks.
$125 wins you 8,500. I would be fine with that for a season-long bet. And you got to remember, come play, once you get into the playoffs, they give you a check mark. So you could feasibly get in there week 15 and have this money hitting your account before Christmas.
Yeah, you had that at what was your odds for that?
1,000 to win 67,000 if I add on the Steelers and the Falcons.
All right, yep. That's the shop around factor there. Same bet. You're winning about $5,000 more over there.
Okay. That's all the difference in the world from clicking around.
Yep.
Okay.
That's what we always say though, Steve. Shop around.
Okay. What's next on the list here? Let's take a look at let me clear all this out. All right, so that is to make the playoffs and miss the playoffs. A couple good tickets for you guys there. Go back and get it. Let's take a look at some win totals.
All right.
And we can play them over and under. Dave, go ahead and start thinking of one. Think of maybe your best AFC team and your best NFC team that we're going to get a good price on the more wins that they get. And kind of start to look at them in that realm. Like if you pull up the Cleveland Browns, do you have the whole gamut? 2.5, 3.5, 4.5?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So I'm going to start. And this could be over or under. And I'm going to probably look under on mine. And I'm going to look at the bad teams who I perceive to be. And I think that's like the Colts. I think that's like Seattle. I think that's like Tennessee. I definitely think it's New Orleans. Cleveland probably isn't going to be very good. Carolina, I don't think is going to be very good. So I think we got some room to wiggle in a few of these. And let me go all the way out to that Tennessee's one I want to take really. Let me take Seattle right off the bat here because I'm under the impression that this is not going to be a good team and this is going to be a very poor season. And if I think that's the case, I'm going to get paid decently here. Under 7.5 wins for Seattle, that means 7-10. That's their ceiling to me.
That sounds about right.
Is plus 120. So we're getting paid there. I'm going to take Seattle under 5.5 wins at plus 350. I could see them being more of a 5-12 team. Do they get 6 wins? Yeah, probably. But for plus 350, and if I'm taking a chance here, give me Seattle under 5.5 because they really, really, really could be bad. And I'm going to add into that. I think I want to take in the AFC side. Do I want to go under or do I want to go over? A couple of these teams, I think I definitely, my Patriots have a soft schedule. Let's just throw them in for an example.
They'll be improved too.
And we haven't talked much Patriots at all preseason. Me being a homer, I've kind of strayed away from it a little bit. But let's throw them into the mix now because they have a very, very winnable schedule. And let's pull that up and look at it real quick. Just so you guys out there who don't know the Patriots schedule can kind of get the gist of the flow here. And they started home against the Raiders. And granted, they can lose all these games. They're at the Dolphins, which is an interesting matchup. Home against the Steelers, kind of a hard game. But then they have the Panthers. At the Bills, no doubt a tough game. They're at the Saints, definitely winnable. They're at the Titans, winnable. They host the Browns, winnable. So I at least have them at 4-3 anyway at this point. They play the Falcons, winnable. At the Buccaneers, hard game. Maybe they're 5-4, 4-5. Jets at home, 5-5. At the Bengals. Again, the Bengals don't have a defense. They beat them last year. But maybe we'll just say that's a wash. 5-5-1. We'll call that an actual tie. Giants at home. They could win that game, 6-5. Bills at home, hard, 6-6. At the Ravens, loss, 6-7-1. At the Jets, win, 7-7-1. And then the Dolphins at home, late in the season. We know how bad the Dolphins are. That's at least 8 wins anyway for New England. At the bare minimum.
Right.
So now we take our chance and say they win a couple of those other games, right?
Yes.
So if we have them at 8 at over 7.5, that's minus 145. Let's figure they win 2 more games. They get to 10 wins, 10-7 overall at plus 190. And right now, just with those two, New England over 9.5, Seattle under 5.5, $100 will win you $1,100 at the end of the day. I don't think that's the worst bet in the world.
No, not at all.
All right, add to the list, Dave. What do you got with me?
So let's see here. I started playing another ticket I was gonna bring up. So I didn't quite follow on that one. But here we'll just go with this real quick, Steve. I'm gonna play some unders here. I got the Raiders under 5.5. Well, they'll be improved, but I just don't know if they got enough to get there. Plus 165 for that. We're getting a good number, plus 180 for the Bengals to go under 8.5 on that very difficult schedule that they have. Then I have, Steve, the Saints under 3.5 at plus 220. I just don't think they're going to be very good at all. Maybe they win 4 games, but maybe they don't. I don't see a scenario where they win too many games. And then we'll give a little credit over 6.5 at plus 130, Steve, for the New York Giants. I think that defense is going to be at least decent enough. They have a better quarterback now. You still have Neighbors out there on the side. So I think that they'll be a little bit more competitive this year, still missing the playoffs, but definitely winning some more games. And you get a 53-1 odds for those 4 teams, Steve.
Okay. So you played. I have Seattle and the Patriots. You took.
Oh yeah, let's go. Okay, Seattle and the Patriots.
So I have Seattle under 5.5, New England over 9.5. You added Vegas under 5.5.
Yep.
You added Cincinnati under 8.5.
Yep.
You have Saints under 2.5.
3.5.
3.5. And the Giants over 6.5.
Yep. You had Patriots 8.5 over.
Yep. So $10 on this one, and I'll play for 5. Actually, I'll actually play this live now.
And you said 7.5 on the Seahawks.
Seahawks under 5.5.
Ooh. Oh wow, plus 425 on that.
You're getting a much bigger number than me on that. I bet plus 350.
Oh, okay.
So let's see what your payout is compared to mine at the end of the day.
All right. All right. So them 6 teams, Steve. I've got this one queued up. $10 to win 40 or 5,400.
Wow. And I got if I do it, my $10 pays $2,800.
Wow. Okay.
So this is better to do on your site.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting.
And that might be a fun round robin type of bet too, where you might end up spending a couple dollars on that one. But that might be a fun round robin as well,
or at least find some. Yeah, at least some of the more logical combos, hooking like 3 or 4 of them together.
Right.
Out of that bunch. Okay, so alternate winning totals over under under Seahawks 5.5, over New England 9.5, under Vegas 5.5, under Cincinnati 8.5, over 6.5 with the Giants, and under Saints 3.5. And I would like to do one, I think, just without the Saints on there,
All right.
just so we don't have to worry about that such a low number.
It is low.
But I've locked it in for me. Wishing I did it on another book because I'm not getting paid nearly the amount of money that yours is paying out. So, all right, let's see here. This is interesting too. This is parlayable. How about this? Teams to win 6 games.
Ooh.
Interesting. Now, all these are favorites. So, you're going to have to approach it like this. Again, like 1,000 to win 1,000. But these 6 teams, or these 4 teams to win 6 games, 100 pays, or 1,000 pays 1,170. Bears, Falcons, Patriots, Steelers.
Yep, I was definitely looking at the Falcons.
Don't they all win 6 games? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You could throw on Chargers, Texans, Packers. You all get 6 games as well. That doubles your money. So I'm going to look at some bigger bets with all of this. Man, I need to get a like a $10,000 hit in the next couple weeks. Because that's not the worst way to bet 1,000 to come back with 1,000 later on.
Right.
I think that's easy money, to be honest. Taking 6, all you need is 6 wins by the Falcons, Patriots, Steelers, the Bears, and then throw on someone like the Texans and Packers. You can even throw on the Buccaneers. Although, the Buccaneers doubles your money. And a little more. And obviously, I mean, let's look at the standings last year. Let's see how many teams finished with 6 wins or less, or 5 wins or less. So there's the Jets and the Patriots last year, the Raiders. That's 3. The Browns 4. Jaguars and Titans 5, 6. Giants 7. Bears 8. Panthers, Saints 9, 10. So 10 teams had less than 6 wins last year. That's crazy.
It is.
I think when we looked at that last year, that seemed like a little bit of an anomaly.
It did.
To me. Okay. Because I remember that being a topic of who are all these bad teams. So that's not the worst way to for a nice big straight bet either, Dave.
No, not at all. I like that.
Now 10 wins, and this will be interesting too as well, because the Patriots are plus 190. Okay, I wanted to make sure they're the same price as they're over 9.5.
Right.
And they are. Patriots are plus 190 on both fronts. So 10 wins is harder. I would want to stick with a low-hanging fruit of 6 wins.
Absolutely.
And put a bunch together, right?
Yeah. Or you could, you could bring it down to maybe 8 too if you wanted to play around with that number.
So teams that get to 500, I mean, Patriots minus 145. You think the Steelers get there?
I think so, yeah.
The Falcons?
To 6, certainly, yeah.
I mean, to 8.
Oh, to 8? Yeah, I was actually doing that right now. Yeah, I think they do.
Let's throw our Cardinals in there at 8. So Cardinals, Steelers, Patriots, Falcons. 100 would pay $5,700.
Oh, yeah.
No, 100 would pay $575.
I mean, that's still not bad.
Let's see here. I feel like when you're plugging in more teams, that's your risk, though.
Oh, absolutely.
So you really just need to find a 3 or 4 that you like and kind of be comfortable with maybe not a bigger payout. I think you can explode your payout going with 6 and then just carpet bombing a bunch of teams over the course. Oh, man, I mean, all it takes is 1 to lose. Like, who are your surefire 10-game winners, maybe? Do you have 3 of them?
The Bills, the Ravens, and maybe I'd like to say the Bucks, because you get a good number there. So I want to go a little bit off the wall there with them. So definitely the Bills, the Ravens, and the Bucks. I like the Bucks.
2 to 1 on your money. So again, I think that's like a bigger bet. Let me put 5,000 down to win 10,000.
Right.
At the end of the year, and I just need the Ravens, the Bills, and the Buccaneers to come through. Okay, fair game there. So that's how that should be approached. Let's see here. Exciting that we can do all of that.
A lot of
Let's get
options.
to some player stuff. And I think we get a lot more futures coming out here in a couple of days, to be honest, as well. All right, this is interesting. Odds to be the number 1 seed overall. So this is the best regular season record. And you got to remember that these teams are all playing top schedules who finished in first last year. So you want to find a number of a team who probably wasn't in first place last season. But odds to be the number 1 seed. AFC, Bills plus 260, Ravens plus 330, Chiefs plus 420, Bengals are 12 to 1, Houston's 12 to 1, the Chargers are 15 to 1, Denver's 13 to 1, Steelers 27 to 1, Miami is 40 to 1, the Patriots are 30 to 1, Jacksonville's 35 to 1. The Colts are 40 to 1, Raiders 60 to 1, 80 to 1 for the Titans, 125 to 1 for the Jets, Browns 200 to 1. To me, if I was going to take a shot on this, I would take a look at the Texans at 12 to 1, just because they had the weaker schedule.
I got 22 to 1.
Do you really for the number 1 seed?
Yep.
Again, oh my gosh, shop around. And what do you have for Jacksonville?
Jacksonville, I have 50 to 1.
Really?
Yep. Dolphins are 55.
I see 35 to 1. Okay.
Yeah, that's quite the difference.
So I know where I'm doing some of this at. Are you able to parlay this with the NFC?
Yeah, I should be able to. All right, yeah, let's take Houston. Now let's do the NFC. Who you like there?
Before we do that,
Okay.
go back down to the AFC odds and just read what you got all together.
Altogether, I got the Bills at plus 190, Ravens plus 250.
So those are paying. I'm getting paid better.
You're getting way better for the top. Chiefs 475. The Broncos are 11 to 1. Chargers 12 to 1. Cincinnati 14 to 1. Your Patriots sitting at 20 to 1. Steelers 22 to 1. Texans 22. Jaguars 50. Dolphins 55. The Colts at 80. Then your numbers just get really big from there, Steve.
They're all over the place.
Titans 100. Jets 160. Raiders 160. Cleveland 400.
Okay, read off your NFC ones.
All right. So NFC, we got the Eagles plus 350, the Niners 6 to 1, Detroit is 7 to 1, Washington 8 to 1, Bucks 8 to 1, Packers 9 to 1. Then you got the Vikings at plus 950, Rams at 950 as well. You got the Cardinals 18-1, Cowboys at 22, the Bears at 25, Falcons at 28, Seahawks at 28, Panthers at 70, Giants 120, the Saints 200.
All over the place compared to mine. There's one obvious one that sticks out to me. It looks like my book's paying better. Do you know who that might be? The obvious one to me.
That yours would be paying better?
Well, I think it goes by the strength of the division. So the obvious one to me is Tampa Bay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So parlay Tampa and Houston together. Tell me a payout.
All right. We're gonna put 100.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't parlay them.
Yeah, and I can't either. Okay.
Don't like that.
All right, but for a straight bet for the season, that's not.
No, yeah, that's not terrible.
Okay.
I thought you'd be able to parlay that. That's silly. Should be able to.
All right, let's go to. This is one I want to talk to Doug Grandy about next week, but it's the most interceptions. Now, you got to think of a player who's going to stay healthy. So that's a crapshoot right there. And someone who's not going to get benched, right? Like Baker Mayfield is not going to get the hook. Trevor Lawrence most likely won't get the hook. Will Sam Darnold get the hook? He could definitely get the hook, right?
Right.
And he's your third favorite. So you got to ask yourself the question there, is this guy actually going to play the whole season if he's bad? Baker will. Trevor will. I got Baker at plus 850. I got Trevor Lawrence at 10-1. Cam Ward is the favorite at plus 750. And I don't think you can play him in case he runs around. He's bound to get hurt. Geno Smith could find himself on the bench. So you can't play him. Dak Prescott won't get benched, but he can certainly get hurt. He's very fragile.
Right, right.
Stafford is injury prone. We know that. Purdy will probably never see the bench. So he's one. I have him at 13-1. What do you have him at?
17.
Penix Jr., I can't say that won't be benched back for Cousins. That could definitely happen. Jordan Love, there's no way he's going to get benched. So he's on this list for me. I have him at 14-1. What do you have him at?
Is that who was that?
Jordan Love.
Oh, Love. I think he was up at the trying to find him here. Love. 15-1.
All right, so he's right there with me. Drake May is at 16-1. Probably won't get benched. Jared Goff, he's 16-1. He's definitely not getting benched, but he could get hurt. McCarthy, not getting benched, you don't think. 16-1. Mahomes never getting benched. Allen never getting benched. They're both 20-1. Tyler Shao could get benched. Kyler Murray will not get benched. He's 25-1.
I was thinking him, Steve, 25.
For most interceptions.
Yep.
That's not the worst. Caleb Williams, 25-1. Bryce Young, 25-1. He could get benched. Tua is 30-1. Fields is 30-1. Jaden Daniels is 40-1. He's not getting benched.
No.
Burrow, 40-1. Stroud, 40-1. Aaron Rodgers, 50-1. Aaron Rodgers, to me, at 50-1 is worth a shot.
Yeah, yeah. But what? Now, I feel like he could get benched, too.
You think so?
Yeah.
And Pittsburgh?
If it just goes off the rails the wrong direction,
completely?
I could see it. Absolutely.
Wow. For Mason Rudolph?
Yep. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm telling you.
Maybe they just does not work that bad. Let's see. Flacco, we can't say he's going to play the whole season. Hurts either. Lamar Jackson either. Lamar's interesting, 60-1. I just feel like he doesn't throw as much.
Right.
Because of the running game, right?
Yeah, that would be my worry. He'll still throw it, but maybe not enough as some of these other guys.
All right. So it'll be interesting to get Del Grandy's take on this as well. Bryce Young at 25-1 is worth an interesting one. Well, maybe not with Dalton. So you like Kyler Murray?
I like Kyler Murray because, I mean, who are they going to play behind him, really? He's your best chance.
Yeah. There's some bad players behind him. Okay. Let's look at 700 and let's look at 6 touchdown receivers. There's always a fun one, right?
Yes, it is, and I had one for this.
And as far as 6 touchdowns goes, it sounds easy. Man, it's not as easy as it sounds.
It's really not.
And 8's much harder. And know that you need to really be an alpha dog to get to 10.
Oh, I had 8s.
Like you need to be a Mike Evans to get to 10.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. We have some guys with some long odds here. And I'll kind of start. Wandale Robinson with the Giants is plus 550. There's Leggett with the Panthers at plus 300. Kyle Pitts is plus 250. He's not going to get 6 receiving touchdowns from Penix. He seems to like him. So I'm going to throw Pitts on a ticket. Jacoby Myers plus 220. I think you could throw him on there. I think he's a 6-7 touchdown kind of guy, especially from Geno Smith, at least. Downs is plus 155. Waddle's plus 125. Waddle's not going to get 6 touchdowns. You figure
Right.
that's almost a layup. Travis Hunter is plus 120. Kelsey's plus 110. He'll get his 6. Cooper Kupp's plus 110. Dunze plus 105. Trey McBride plus 105. I think he'll get his 6. Zay Flowers plus 105. Garrett Wilson plus 105. I'm worried the quarterback can't get him the ball. McMillan for the Panthers, even money. Stephon Diggs, even money. Sign me up for him for 6.
Absolutely.
Brock Bowers minus 105. You can probably throw him on that list too. Although we took Myers, so let's just hold off on that. Pickens is minus 105. Jameson Williams minus 120. Matthew Golden minus 130. Calvin Ridley minus 130. Devontae Smith minus 135. I think he'll get to 6. Smith and Jigma is now the alpha dog, but again, Seattle worries me. Mark Andrews worries me a little bit. Puka Nacua, his health worries me. I think Kittle's is fair game for 6 again.
Yeah.
And I think Lad McConkey is as well. Now, it looks like 7 is my limit. So I can't add McConkey and Kittle, although I want to do some of these guys towards the top. So this would be my long shot ticket. Kyle Pitts, Jacoby Myers, Jalen Waddle, Kelsey, McBride, Diggs, Devontae Smith. $5 wins $1,883. What scares you on that list? What do you like about it, Dave? Or
I mean,
along, what do you like?
It makes sense to me. There's a lot of guys on there that I feel like should get there, and like you said, it's very easier said than done, as we have found out. So mine book goes to 5 and then to 8. So I was following behind you while putting some other guys on here. I like your Diggs. I really like that one. Jalen Waddle plus 105. We'll go ahead and saddle up with him as well. And I went with 2 different ones here, Steve, just to get some they're both plus 150 just to pump this thing up a little bit.
It's just for 5 or for 8?
This is for 5.
Okay.
Isaiah Likely and Zach Ertz are 2 guys that I would look to add the tight ends there.
And what's your payout for a $10 ticket?
I didn't have the other guys on there. Who were your other ones?
Well, just the ones that you like.
The ones that I like right
45.
now, the 4 guys that I have, $10 for them is $226.
That's not bad.
No, and I was going to add to it a little bit as well.
Give me 4 guys for 8 or 5 guys for 8.
All right, 5 guys for 8.
and I'll do the same.
Let's go on down that list.
And we'll look at the difference in pricing as well. I'll punch yours in as you go along. You can punch mine in.
All right, sounds good. I'm going to start off with Brian Thomas Jr. plus 115.
Yeah, I like that one.
You got to throw Nico in there. That seems like a number that he should be able to get to.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
We'll throw Mike Evans in there to minus 115 as well. Still getting a decent number for him to do that. Let's see here. Let's get a little bump up here.
That's a good value for you. I see 135.
Okay.
For me.
I'm gonna go with Rome Odunze at plus 320. I think he's had a good camp. They say somebody who could end up being a number one target for them. Sounds like he is gotten better. He showed flashes at the end of last year, and it sounds like camp is really happy with his progression so far. So Odunze at plus 320. We're gonna give him another shot. And then let's see here.
And I get plus 220. So again, you're getting way a better number.
All right, we need one more here. Let's see one of these guys that can really. Now that's receiving. We want to leave him alone. You know what? Let's go with the rookie McMillan for the Panthers. I know that's going to be a little bit of a stretch there, but 4-1 number for him.
Let's see.
And we're doing 10, right?
Yep.
So $10 on these five guys is going to be $19.83, so just short of $2,000.
So that's McMillan, Odunze, Brian Thomas Jr., Nico Collins, and Mike Evans.
Yep.
All right, 5 guys for 8 touchdowns from me.
All right.
All right, I'm going to take Jefferson. I'm going to take St. Brown. I'm going to take CeeDee Lamb.
All right. I like that. Plus 105 for me.
I got mine as 115. So this is all, again, like a big bet to win a big, larger amount. I'm going to take Tyreek Hill. And I'll take DK Metcalf.
Nice.
And that $100 pays $1,550 for me.
I got 2,300.
Wow. So I'm going to have to play that on your book. So that's Jefferson, St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, and DK Metcalf, all for 8 touchdowns, which sounds kind of chalky.
Right.
But, that's one that could get home if you're halfway through the season. All these guys are sitting at 6 touchdowns or 7 or all the way home. And we're in good shape there. Okay. So those are all fun, right?
Yeah. I mean, those sounds like the usual suspects to do that. So that's a good number.
All right. 750 receiving yards. Let's take a look at that.
All right.
Do you have that market available to you?
I should. Let me. Yeah, but mine starts at 1,000.
1,000 receiving yards. And you know what? Let's do that next week because it looks like mine is kind of falling off here. It's like off the board.
Right.
All right. So we'll look past that. Let's see here. Can we parlay any of these together? Look at quarterback passing stuff. Let's see here. Season leaders. Well, this is interesting. Okay, most passing yards. Let's take a look at this. Burrow's the favorite, plus 470. Mahomes is 9-1. Dak Prescott's plus 950. Goff is 11-1. Purdy is 12-1. Stroud is 14-1. Mayfield 14-1. Allen 15-1. Stafford 19-1. Jordan Love 19-1. Caleb Williams 20-1. Lawrence 20-1, Penix Jr. 20-1, Tua 22-1, Herbert 25-1, Geno Smith 27-1, Jaden Daniels 35-1, Dave. Lamar Jackson 35-1, Aaron Rodgers 40-1. I'm skipping over a couple people at this point. My man Drake May 50-1. Although you gotta think Vrabel's gonna be running the ball.
Right.
I'm sure your numbers are different too. Most passing yards, what makes sense to you, maybe?
It's the usual suspects up at the top. I don't know about Prescott being up there that high. Plus 850. He's the second favorite on mine. Joe Burrow makes a lot of sense.
The chalk makes a lot of sense here, doesn't it?
It does. If I'm going to give somebody on maybe the outside a little bit a shot with the weapons I think that he's going to have this year, 12-1 for Baker Mayfield.
Right, he's the other one. Yep.
I think that's the one. If you want to try and get value out of it, that's the guy that you take. As opposed to the obvious ones. But again, Joe Burrow right there at 1. Just with the cast of characters he has to spread the ball around to at plus 450, that makes sense to me, Steve.
All right. Most receiving touchdowns. Chase 6-1 then?
Yeah, 6-1 is what I have as well. Evans is following behind him with a 10-1. Yeah, I mean, what?
Tyreek Hill's interesting at 18-1.
Why would it be anybody but him? But the numbers get really big if you take a chance on some of these other guys. And again, nobody wants to see it happen, obviously. But what if Chase gets hurt, a knee or something, and he misses significant time? I mean, the door is open for a lot of these guys here with big numbers.
DK Metcalf 35-1. You got to figure he's going to be an Aaron Rodgers target at the end zone all the time.
All the time.
So he would make sense. Brock Bowers 40-1.
Yeah, and you could go with somebody like that as well.
Stephon Diggs 70-1, Dave.
That's wild. That's a big number for him. I mean, I kind of understand it, but you can play it.
I mean, it's worth even at $5 to win 350 for a future. If he happens to do it, why not? Right?
Sure, absolutely.
Right? Okay, so there's some gems in the rough with all that. Team regular season specials. Let me pull yours up. Commanders, after trading their number one running back, one rushing touchdown in each game is 22-1.
Really?
Commanders to go 6-0 in the NFC East is at 15-1.
Interesting.
Commanders to score a touchdown and field goal in every game is 13-1. And the Commanders to score a passing touchdown in each game is 13-1. Dave, I got the Patriots to go 6-0 in their division at 125-1.
You got to throw a 5 at that.
Right?
Yeah, you almost really kind of have to. So one touchdown in every game.
I mean, that pays better than winning the conference.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And they just got to win 6 games, right?
No,
and 2 of them they probably should definitely win.
Right. I could see that.
All right, so that's some fun stuff you can do.
What about team scoring, overall points for the season?
Oh yeah, let's see. Team specials with scoring. What do you got? Give me some odds.
All right, so we'll start like the Cardinals over 400 and a half points at minus 110. I see one that catches my eyes here because if this offense can click, I think they should be able to put up points, and that's the Bears over 399 and a half.
Is this parlayable?
At +1. Let me see. All right, we'll take the Bears at that number, and we'll go back with the Cardinals. It is not.
Okay.
All right. That would be a lot more fun if it was parlayable.
I think we're going to end up with a lot more of these futures on the board next week.
Right.
I mean, they were advertising Futures Day here on this book for Tuesday. So I think we'll get all kinds of stuff we can look at again next week. I do see stage of elimination of the playoffs. But I do like the fact that we can do some over-under on the win totals. Mainly. That's the one I think we're having some fun with.
Right.
That we looked at today. So they're out there, people. Play around with your win totals. Let's do another one just for randomness. I'm going to throw some teams at you that we haven't talked about at all, and just kind of peg them for what you might think. I mean, where do you have the Eagles?
Yeah, this is for wins.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm trying to find it.
At under 10.5, you're getting plus 135. That means they're 10-7. Are they better than that?
I think so. Probably, yeah.
13 wins, 13-4 gets them to 2
All
to
right,
1.
here we go. Looking at the Eagles. All right. And you want to go under.
Well, let's say they're 12-5, right?
All right.
That's plus 110.
Yep.
Over 11.5.
Yep.
Another team we haven't talked about. Jacksonville. Let's talk about them.
All right.
And we talked about them on previous shows. We've talked about everyone at some point. We think they could have a better year, right?
I think so.
What if they get to, let's say, 9 wins, right? 9 and 8?
Over 8.5. Yep.
That's plus 145.
Nice.
That's a nice modest payout. So let's add them. Let's add the Eagles to get to 11 wins. And let's do one under from each division or from each conference as well.
All right.
And we talked about Cincinnati being a good underplay potentially.
Just because of the numbers. I mean, they can
Right.
win, but still, they got a tough schedule, Steve. I'm not so sure about their total.
What about the Jets? Rough year for the Jets for you?
Middle of the road, probably. I just don't see, I think they're just very middle of the road. The best way to put it.
I mean, can they get 7 wins?
Let's see here. The Jets, 7 wins. Yeah, they could probably get 7.
All right, so plus 125 for that. And then let's downplay the 49ers, right?
All right.
Under 9.5 wins for the 49ers is that plus 155. So that's 9 and 7 at best. Oh, and thank you, Sportsbook. I see a $250 bonus in my account.
Nice.
All right, so we have the Eagles over 11.5 wins, Jacksonville over 8.5 wins, the Jets over 6.5 wins, and the 49ers under 9.5 wins. That actually doesn't sound too bad, to be honest.
No, it doesn't.
So $10 wins you $263. Again, maybe that you make that like a $40 bet, and that pays you $1,000.
You throw a 50 on it and get $1,300.
Yeah, that's not bad, right?
Yeah, that's a fun one.
All right, let's do one more from your perspective. Throw
All
me
right.
some random ones.
All right, let's go with some random ones here.
Then we'll call it a show, and we'll be back next week.
All right. I'll tell you what. Let's give my guys over 9.5, Steve. Maybe they take a small step back.
All right, so the Washington is over 9.5. That's at minus 110. Okay.
Let's see here. We're going randomness. I'd like to go back up to we talked about the Bears earlier, didn't we? I'd like to give them 9 over 8.5.
Plus 125. I got All right.
So now you want some unders, right? 2 unders.
Sure. Yep.
Let's give the Cleveland Browns under 4.5. It's going to be a tough year for them.
Plus 120 for that. Okay.
And then let's go back. I'm going to do something here that maybe won't happen, but let's take a look at the Chiefs here. Got the Broncos who are gonna be better. They're gonna want to try and contend for that. So we're gonna give the Chiefs an underplay here. If I can pull up their, come on,
Man, if you think the Chiefs can really go south, you can get that's some of your better payouts.
and that's what I want to look at. Let's we won't go too crazy. We know they're gonna be good, right? But
At 9-7 is plus 220.
yeah,
Well, that's-
I mean, man. So let's
Under 10.5 is plus 135.
yeah. Well, let's go under 10.5 for them. Maybe that's their ceiling.
So that's about 100 to win $1,900. Washington to get 10 wins.
Yeah,
The Chiefs 10 wins or less. Bears to get to 9 or more, and Cleveland under 4.5. I mean, I think that's all fun.
yeah, absolutely.
And I think the other fun one we discovered this morning is parlaying the teams just to get 6 wins.
Right. Yep.
Or 5 wins on your book. I think we can compound and carpet bomb a bunch of those for a big payout at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
All right, Dave, let's wrap it up. We'll give the A-Man the benefit of the doubt. He went shopping with his girl. I know he's out of town next weekend,
Okay.
so we won't have him. We will have Dave Dolgrandi, of course. We'll have you one last week, and we'll do some more future stuff. We'll do our picks for the season. We'll pick the Eagles game. We'll have Survivor Talk. We'll have our fantasy rosters ready to go. Actually, we won't. Our league draft will be Monday night,
Okay.
but we can fine tune all that.
I'll have a team next show.
All right. Sounds good. This is the Round Robin, Deep End Broadcasting Network. Subscribe to our YouTube, Deep End Broadcasting. 9 a.m. next week, 7 a.m. the week to follow. More programming announcements next week as well. Have a good day.